Michael, I am, oh man, I'm excited. Oh, you motherfucker, you better believe I'm so excited.
Did you find a porno in the woods again?
No, dude. Pornography is everywhere. I can get pornography on. I have a box in my hand that will give me. There is so much porno on the thing in my hand that like I could. There's no amount of jerk in it that could ever. It's not like I'm ever going to be like, well, that was the end of it. That was the last porn.
I just assumed it was some sort of legend porn or some shit.
No. I don't know. Actually, there's no way that you can not know this, but I got to tell everybody out there. I don't know if it's fucking crazy hurricane magic or whatever, but like fucking, it's finally. I stepped outside last night and there was a chill in the air, and I was like, "Oh, you motherfuckers!" And I went to the bar with a hoodie, and I was like, halfway through, I was cold as shit, and I was like, "Oh, good." This means I get to get my jacket back out again. It means that the fucking long, brutal, relentless fireball of Texas summer might finally be coming to an end, and I'm just so goddamn happy.
Did you hear about next week, though?
What?
There's supposed to be a cold front that's supposed to be make the high be like 50 on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, motherfucker! Hats and gloves and big wool jackets and scarves and all that shit. I can't wait. I love it so much, and we get it for like 2 months, and well, not 2 months
if we're lucky.
Yeah, a little bit more than that, but not. It's never long enough, and it always seems to be that the summer starts and then it's just forever. Like at some point, I just look up to the sky and go, "Will you never cease torturing me, motherfucker?" and shake my hand at the sun like a crazy person, which is why I don't know my neighbors.
This past winter, I remember thinking to myself, "Man, I wish I could see the sun again." And then the summer happened, and I was like, "Man, I wish the sun would just fucking go away."
So anyway, welcome to the first Chili Rage Select podcast. I don't have any socks on, and my feet are numb, and I'm just enjoying it because like I would have to crank my AC so fucking far down in the summertime to even get that up here in the studio. So welcome back to the Rage Select podcast. I am Jeff.
And I'm Mike.
Sorry. I'm just...
And I have shoes.
Oh, my God. I am so excited. I love the wintertime. I love every part of it. I just can't wait. I can't wait.
I am excited to bring my jackets out again. I can finally use my 2099 jacket is one of the warmer jackets I have because it can actually block wind compared to like my other Spider-Man jackets. And so I
like the idea that you just have you open up your closet, you're like, which Spider-Man jacket shall I wear today?
It kind of is like that, actually.
Oh, damn.
I have like 5 or 6 of them.
See, my problem is that last year for Christmas, my girlfriend got me this wonderful light, like windbreaker Soldier 76 jacket, and I want to wear it. I'm just a little too fat for it. I'm like 10 pounds too heavy to be in it. Like when you zip it up and then, you kind of like, you suck it in to zip it up and then you let it go and you're just like, oh, I can't. I love Soldier 76. I can't be like, hi, I'm Fat Soldier 76, everybody.
You can totally do that. People do it all the time.
Yeah, I guess.
Dad 76. That's my favorite.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking like this is the perfect year to go as like fat suburban Kratos because I already have a beard and no hair. I just need to paint a red stripe on my face and then I could be, and then call everybody boy.
Well, you got to be careful with that one.
Oh yeah, yes, trust me. That would not be a problem.
You need to hire a small child to follow you.
Yeah.
Actually, that could also be a problem.
No, I don't want to do that either. I don't do that. You know what I need to do is I need to get Jason Murphy to dress up like the kid from God of War.
I'd pay money to see that.
So, okay, let's see. Before we jump into the news, and I'm going to be real brutally honest with people, not a lot happened this week. We got a real light set of news. It's kind of just going to be like, oh, okay, cool. There's no, like, Red Dead Redemption has been canceled and it's only going to be a Macintosh exclusive. Like, there's nothing like that.
That would be amazing.
So... We're going to kind of maybe stretch this beginning part out just a little bit. Michael, have you been up to anything? You done anything interesting over the last week?
I started reading Spider-Geddon, which completely started this week.
What's that?
It's the new Spider-Man, like every Spider-Man in one comic thing.
Hey, I don't know if you know this, but there are other superheroes that are not Spider-Man?
There are, but they haven't been as good as Spider-Man. But well, the thing that's interesting about the Spider-Geddon one was I think last week they came out with number 0,
yeah,
which takes place directly after the PS4 Spider-Man game.
Okay.
And so they bring him
in continuity.
Yeah, so they bring him into the Spider-Verse stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
I would explain some of the stuff that happens, but it is spoilery with that part of it at least. But then the actual Spider-Geddon stuff is that the bad guys from Spider-Verse are back, and they're going to attack the 616 universe this time. So it's pretty exciting.
Okay. Sounds like if you're a fan of Spider-Man. Sounds like I need to get you and Jason to talk about this on a podcast because
Maybe.
I don't know anything.
Other than that, it's just a lot of working. Okay. I was rewatching a bunch of Halloween stuff actually because it is October. My roommate we watched the entirety of the Evil Dead series.
Good job. Yep.
I rewatched the Brooklyn Nine-Nine Halloween episodes.
Okay.
Which are still a lot of fun. So I've basically started my rewatch Halloween setup.
I'll tell you what I watched right before you came into my door. I literally finished it like 15 minutes before you knocked on my door. Was Sleep No More, the horror movie that Jason Murphy wrote.
Oh, okay.
Which is out on Amazon, streaming, iTunes. We talked about it last week.
I've been meaning to watch that. So
yeah, it's okay. There's it is interesting because you know what? It's like whenever Jason gives me anything of his to read or whenever I see any of his stuff, I'm just like, okay, I wish though, like, I don't know. I just go immediately into like asshole critique mode. I don't know. Like it was good. It was fine. It was, it was just kind of a mid-tier horror movie. I would honestly though, I mean, it's like $5 to rent on Amazon right now. I mean, I would probably wait for it to show up on like Netflix or Hulu or something like that. But it was okay. I mean, it's about a bunch of set in the 80s. It's about a bunch of people who are trying to essentially quote unquote cure sleep, right? They're trying to do this drug trial that makes it so you don't ever have to sleep anymore. And then like, oh no, the spookiness. So, but it was okay. I mean, it was fine. I'm also privy to more information about the making of that movie because like Jason and I know each other. But it's not the greatest horror movie I've ever seen. It actually brought to mind the idea that I feel like between things like the Babadook and It Follows and stuff like that, how like I feel like horror really has had the bar raised, or like Hereditary.
There's been a lot of great ones like Get Out and
Get Out was great too. Yeah, there's just been. I feel like there's just been
the gauntlet has been thrown.
Cleverness, like the cleverness bar has been raised. Either the cleverness bar or like the style bar, right, has kind of been raised to the point where I feel like if you go back to the 80s and the 90s, like there were plenty of what we would consider to be perfectly enjoyable, kind of like schlocky, middle of the road horror movies, but that recently the horror people have been taking their movies real fucking seriously. So
it helps that Blumhouse keeps giving certain people just like $4 million each time.
Yeah.
So they can get creative now.
Yeah.
They can be really creative now.
But no, I mean, it's fine. I mean, if you want to, like, as I said last week, if you're looking for something to watch on Halloween, you want to throw a dark horse in there. I've read some people that really liked it. Last week on the podcast, somebody commented saying that it was like complete trash. I don't know that I would go that far. It's $5 to rent. It's on Amazon. It's on iTunes. Whatever.
Yeah.
It also kind of depends on how many nits you need to pick out of every thing. I don't know. Speaking of nitpicking, and this is the last thing before we jump into the news, I hope this is going by pretty fast. Yeah. Doctor Who came back on last week.
Who?
With the internet's favorite lady doctor,
Jodie Whittaker.
Jodie Whittaker. Yep. I'm going to keep watching the show, but I didn't really care for it. I feel like Doctor Who has, you know what? Okay, this is a thing. I'm just going to briefly lay out my case here. I bet that you could probably relate to this. Like, yeah. Okay, so back in the days when they rebooted Doctor Who, or back in the old Doctor Who days, Star Trek, I feel like, is very much the same way. Where like there's two different types of Star Trek, right? Like, I watched a little bit of the new Star Trek, and you know what it was? What a lot of it was just like, it was feelings, man. It was about feelings, about adventure, and like, oh no, and oh, what's gonna happen? And right? And I feel like this new Doctor Who, the first episode, was kind of like that too, where everybody was just like feelings, like, what? Oh, do I like you? Who am I? What's going on? Whereas I feel like in older Doctor Who and in like older Star Trek, and I'm sure that there are other things that kind of fall into the same category. Star Trek and Doctor Who are easy because they're old series that have a new incarnation.
Yeah.
Where it was like old Doctor Who, I really liked a lot of it, and I'm talking reboot Doctor Who, and even some of the older stuff. Actually, to be honest, the old stuff of Doctor Who, a lot of that tended to be feelings as well, right? But like, there was a lot of that of the Eccleston and the Tennant run where it was like something very clever that happened during the show, or like, how are we going to get out of this problem that we found ourselves in? And we're going to figure out this really clever solution and then implement it. It's a race against the clock and blah, 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 blah. And like, who's doing what? And where did you come from? And that kind of thing. And shit, it was the Daleks the whole time. Whereas this, I feel like a lot of the new series, and this is, I mean, I'm not as down on, there's 90-minute YouTube videos about how all Doctor Who is SJW bullshit, and I feel like there's like a little bit of truth in that, because I felt like a lot of some of the Capaldi stuff ended up being more feelings and like not just, I don't want to just say feelings, because it's not just that. It's just that there wasn't like that the resolution was just like, because I'm the Doctor and I always win, right? That it wasn't like trying to figure something kind of crazy out. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you can relate to what I'm saying.
A little bit. There are shows that are like that, where they're, besides Star Trek, that have incarnations from the past, and then there's a huge gap where they just do stuff like this. It's going to sound a little Matt Frankie, but Kamen Rider actually has that.
Right.
Kamen Rider had been canceled at a certain point, and then they came back like towards the early 2000s, and it's completely different. Like, there's some stuff, it's not just... It's not as hokey kind of thing. It tries to take itself more seriously and a little death-like.
Right.
And sometimes it's just like, this is a bit too much in the other direction than it needs to be. And then some things do the opposite, where it goes too campy. And you're just like, you guys need to find the direct middle point. And some shows are really bad about that one, especially when they come back from something, because at that point, it's the people who thought they knew what they wanted from it as a kid,
right,
as an adult now, going, this is what I wanted this whole time. It's like Bendis in the New Avengers kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, there was that huge gap between Avengers Disassembled and New Avengers. And there's plenty of people I know who hate the New Avengers.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's somebody who is like, we're going to make my own Avengers with blackjack and hookers. and then they made it with Spider-Man and Wolverine, and some people don't like that version of them because it goes in a different, weird kind of direction, the same, instead of the way they want it to go, I guess.
It's like, this is probably not incredibly fair to the new Star Trek, but like about a month ago, I went back and I was... one of the guys over on Brian's team was rewatching TNG, and it just got me thinking about all my favorite TNG episodes. And so one night I was drunk, and I pulled up Netflix, and I watched the episode Darmok. You know that one? Right. And it was so enjoyable. I know what happens at the end of Darmok, but it was just so enjoyable because it was like, Picard's trying to figure out this mystery, and then he's like, I'm figuring it out. And then like, my enemy was actually my friend. And like, and then, like that, it brings a tear to my eye a little bit at the end when he's like trying to give the dagger back to the guy on the other ship, and the guy's like, Temba, his arms closed or whatever, It was like, and then you look at like what the new... like what the first episode of Star Trek Discovery, and it was just fucking J.J. Abrams. Yeah. We got BMO, we got to punch Klingon. And I was like, where is that sense of like, we're trying to figure out this thing that happened, or like the Inner Light, where Picard gets zapped by the probe and he lives the whole life, and at the end he gets the thing, and it's just like, it's a nice little story. Or I went back and I made somebody recently, because I was drunk and I was talking about Star Trek. Made somebody watch the DS9 episode called In the Pale Moonlight, where Sisko sets up the Romulans to enter the war against the Dominion, and it's this very complicated morality thing, right? That like nothing really, it's just people talking to each other for 45 minutes, but I'm on the edge of my seat. And then sometimes when I was watching that first episode of Discovery, and it was just lens flares and blasters and Klingons, and I was like,
I think Star Trek has the most unique version, though, because there's gaps between all of them.
Yeah.
Like, there's gaps between the first Star Trek, Next Generation, and then there's a giant gap between, what is it, Enterprise was the last one with Scott Bakula, and then Discovery. And it's just one of those things. It's one of those unique ones where it has 3 different time iterations.
Right.
And so it's...
Well, not to mention the movies.
Oh, yeah, and then there's the movies as well that kind of try
Parallel
to keep
universe,
that gap.
yeah.
Parallel universes, different alternate timelines, that sort of thing.
Anyway.
Like, we don't know what Star Trek doesn't know what it is now.
Yeah.
At this point.
Well, and there's also the big question, and we are leaving this topic at this point, but there's also the big question that has been put forth several times that I understand, where it's like, does anybody really want to watch a primetime show that's about like 2 weird looking, like a guy in jammies and a guy with a lobster glued to his head having a conversation for 45 minutes, and that's like what we're supposed to be like? Oh my god! I personally think
I'd watch that.
I would totally watch that, but I don't know. Apparently, the whole thing is, if you're going to have it be science fiction, you got to now have just like a million blasters or like really kind of hyper violence. And I don't need that. I'd much rather have the opposite. So anyway, I'm going to keep watching Doctor Who. I bought the whole season on Amazon. I'm going to see how it goes. Who knows? I mean, like, Eccleston Doctor Who doesn't get good until like Dalek. So that's 4 episodes into the season. That first episode with the fucking plastic people where they turn Mickey into a mannequin, that's just garbage, man. That's a garbage episode of Doctor Who, and it sucks ass.
I don't know. I don't watch it, so
yeah,
personally.
Okay. Anyway, speaking of alternate timelines, we have now definitive proof that we are not in the darkest timeline, because Sony is going to start letting you change your name on the PS4 if you want to.
Oh, really?
Yep. Starting in early 2019, you're going to be able to change your online Sony ID with a couple of caveats. So here's the thing. First time, just like a drug dealer, first time's free, but after that it's going to cost you. So if you want to change it after the first time, it'll be $4.99 if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, $9.99 if you're not. But you do get the first one for free. You can always revert back to your old ID without any cost. They're going to keep that around. So, you know, when I change my name to Rage Select, Jeff's dick is huge. Don't think you can just go take in Rage Select as a screen name, motherfucker, because it's still mine.
You mean Sniper 420 XX is going to finally be able to become an adult?
That's right. Let's see. This is a weird one that I don't really know exactly what this means. So it says, when you change your ID, you have a one-time chance to display your old ID along with the new one. So it'll be like,
I think it's so people don't try to get rid of you.
What I want it to actually be is that they put a break in the middle of your username, and then they put your old username in quotes in the middle. So it's like you changed your name to Groovy Michael, and it's like Groovy quote XX420 Sniper No Scope quote Michael
69.
Yeah,
it should be the gamer tag formerly known as, and it should have the rest of it on there.
Yeah. And then there is also another thing about PS4 titles published after April 1st, 2018 are all going to be great, but some of the old games may not be showing the right IDs because apparently it wasn't a thing that was ever programmed into the matchmaking. So I feel like if you're doing the matchmaking through the PSN,
you're so it's
fine.
The servers, I guess.
But if you're, I think that it's more like if you're inside of the game, like if the game has a matchmaker in it, that it might show old IDs.
Oh, like
in the game,
like the way a Call of Duty is like, this is your level or whatever.
Or like you invite your friends in the game instead of through the PSN, and it's not even everything before April 1st. It's just some old games will not have the ability to read this new changing your tag.
Okay.
I get the impression that the way that they're programming it is that your old tag is totally still there. It's just showing a new name on top of it, and so older games might just end up reading your old tag.
You hear that, Sniper 420 69?
That's right.
You're safe.
or Jason always used to make disparaging remarks about Slapnut 69, and I had to finally, after using that as his imaginary person on the internet that he didn't like, I was like, do you know someone with the handle that Slapnut 69? So yeah, and it should tell you something about the state of our news this week. That's the main story. So
it's very exciting, though.
PlayStation
actually.
ID. Speaking of PlayStation, we had some confirmation this week that Sony is working on their next gen console. I know that stories like this come up all the time, but apparently they are beginning work. They haven't said this is PlayStation 5. As always, I mean, this shit is always played super close to the vest. You don't ever want to be like, yes, we're working on the PlayStation 5. We'll announce it at E3 in 2020 because then everybody's going to just stop buying your product, right? But it is interesting because we are only about 5 years into the PS4's life cycle.
Something like that. And we also have a newer version of it, too.
Yep. And it's funny because you can actually track the PlayStation 4 and Rage Select together, because when we first started Rage Select, Fuse, right, is a PS3 game, you know, and then we got the PS4. There was a good like 6 months or something when I had both the Xbox One and the PS4, but we mostly played on the Xbox One because Sony hadn't disabled the DRM bullshit on HDMI. It took them a while to do that finally, the HDCP. So anyway, yep, start saving. I mean, I guess, you know why I put this in here? I'm sorry. The weather, man, I love it so much. My carefully crafted plan is all fucked up. All these segues were just one right after the other, and I'm already out of order. What do we want to see in a new console? Not just the PlayStation 5, but the new Xbox, maybe new Nintendo.
More Spider-Man 3 fonts.
I should have known better than to ask you anything that had a potential answer that was Spider-Man related. No, I mean, like, do we think that the PlayStation 5 should be like a Switch, maybe? Or maybe some kind of variation? I mean, they had that thing where you could stream games to Vita, right? So you could possibly, you could almost make a thing where you had half the hardware that you needed for the streaming and the rendering, and then have it render over your local network, maybe?
I like the idea of that, but PlayStation Now is so garbage, I'd be very worried about that.
Yeah, well, the Vita stuff was garbage, too, because no L2 or R2.
Yeah, you had to use the touchpad. So, like, I honestly, I just want it to kind of be the same thing. like, there's not a lot I want from my consoles.
Just better graphics.
Nowadays. Like, I just want it to not be garbage.
Okay.
Like, I don't want it to be like the PS3 when it first came out, that they all died right away, or super expensive.
I'd say super expensive. I had
same with the 360.
Yeah,
the 360 was like that too when it first came out. They all just started dying all of a sudden. I just don't want them to die on me. Like basically, that's kind of really all it is.
You heard it here first. Michael's list of things I want in a console doesn't catch on fire. That's pretty much it. Done.
Well, that's a lot harder than it sounds, apparently, according to some other companies like Samsung.
What would you think about if you were able to put out a PlayStation 5 and like one of the things that you could do with a PS5 was it was like, this console will play any game that's ever had a PlayStation logo on it. You could put a PS1 game in here, 2, 3, 4, 5, like full backwards compatibility with no streaming or any of that bullshit. Just like, here's a console that's like, this is your archival thing, right? It's a brick. It's got good solid hardware in it. Something that can emulate the cell processing so that we can do PS3 backwards compatibility. Maybe even throw in PSP and Vita games as well, and just be like, look, if it's ever been out and it's been on the PlayStation, you can play it on this console. You can put it in. We got an adapter for Vita games if you really want to fucking play your Vita games.
I'd buy that in a fucking heartbeat, though.
Yeah.
I'd play so many old PS1 games on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't. PlayStation 1 looks like ass. It's like shitty asshole.
There's a lot of games for the PS1 that just are not re-releasable because some of them were either games that for some reason only got 1 or 2 games, or some that were just licensed that you could never re-release that way.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad they're remaking Medieval 1, but there's no way to play Medieval 2 at that point either.
Right.
So it's like, and there's certain games on there that the only way you can play them now is that they're being re-released in some way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. Who could say? In the words of Philip DeFranco, let me know down in the comments what you think about what would you like to see. I'm not even trying to make this I almost said partisan. I'm trying to make this like a console specific thing, but like, what do you want out of the next gen of consoles? Because it's funny how the PlayStation 4 I use for most of my video game stuff, and then my Switch is a unique piece of hardware that I use quite a bit. But like my Xbox One hasn't been off the shelf since. I installed Forza and I just haven't played it. So
it is pretty dusty.
Yeah. Speaking of, it's not even in here. Speaking of the future, the Xbox. Microsoft is starting a new tech project called Project X Cloud, which is, we talked about last week we talked about the Google playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey streaming in a Chrome browser, which apparently works okay. I didn't get into it, but
I have some coworkers that say it works pretty decently. The lag isn't too noticeable, apparently.
Okay. But Microsoft is apparently jumping on this streaming train as well with this Project X Cloud. They even have a little thing where they talk about basically taking the motherboards out of Xbox One X's and then putting them into server blades, where this is going to be a project to essentially let you... What's kind of interesting about this is that this project is specifically set up to let you stream to a phone or a tablet. And then they have a little mock-up that you saw when we were watching this video where it's like an Xbox controller with a little bracket at the top that has a phone on it and somebody playing like Forza on that phone. And you didn't watch this video, but they actually specifically name drop Android. So like one of the things you would expect if Microsoft was going to do something like this was for them to be shitty and be like, only works on Microsoft phones. It's for the new Zune phones that we're putting out later this year.
They shut down their Microsoft phones a while back, though.
Oh, did they? Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know.
As far as I know, they stopped doing that because they were so shitty.
I always feel like there's a group of people out there who are just like, I love the Zune. I love my Microsoft phone.
I did like the Zune, actually.
But you know what? This is, I feel like this is good because I think it's a really good avenue for Microsoft because, one, it fits in really well with their Game Pass thing, where it's like if you have access to the Game Pass games, and then maybe that also introduces you for an extra $5 a month, you can also now stream them on any device that you would like. It also sets them apart from Sony because Sony's been kind of lackadaisical. I mean, like, what, 2-3 weeks ago, Sony announced that you can download the PS Now games because...
And only certain ones, apparently.
Yeah, any of them that are on the PS4, and then it's a fair amount of them. I actually went and looked at... I didn't realize how many PS4 games PS Now has. Like, Bloodborne is on PS Now.
Oh, I did not know that, actually.
If you have, you can just straight up download it because you could download any of the PS4 games. But, like, yeah, PS Now has been such a... Now, I was like, is it now or is it View?
Yeah, it's now.
PS Now has been such a kind of clusterfuck that I don't know anybody that really uses it all that much.
Every time I bring it up, they look at me like I stabbed somebody. Like, they're like, oh, I remember the PlayStation Now. Who did you kill? Wait, what? No one.
So, if Microsoft could get something like this working, I mean, I don't know. I have really mixed feelings. I know that a lot of people really want a console where it's, it's rendering the thing in the box and there's nothing. I love the idea of decentralizing our not just games but computers, everything from these big black boxes that I have. Like,
I think it's a great idea because this is kind of like an extension of having their Xbox on your computer as well.
Yeah,
like they're just making it a little more affordable.
Yeah. Also, I mean, it'd be really interesting if it's running on Xbox One X hardware and can run Xbox One X games. That should also mean that it can run all of that Xbox 360 backwards compatibility shit too, right? So, I mean,
maybe? I don't know how that works.
Like, if it's rendering Xbox games on a server blade and then streaming them to your phone, it should be able to render anything that an Xbox can render. So, should be able to play Red Dead and fucking Dark Souls. And
people can play Dark Void on the go.
There you go. Finally, god damn. But you know what? It's just it's a tech that I'm glad to see that people are still working on. Because I feel like we tried it and then it's like almost like VR. We tried it, it was kind of shitty. Everybody gave up on it, and then I was like, now did we give up on that too soon? Let's see. Is there any way to get the input lag down far enough that people can do this over like a cell phone? And they're even talking about how it sounds like this is going to be optimized for 5G phones. Like if you're doing it over a cell phone network, you're going to need to be on a motherfucking fast cell phone network. So,
yeah. So they pretty much know what they're trying, and whether or not the controls work, I could actually see this being a pretty good idea.
Yeah, me too. It's just like everything, right? If it works, great. Like when they first announced the Switch, I remember I was like, it's not going to actually work like that. And then the day that I set it up and put it in the cradle and it just went boop, and I was like, oh shit, it does work like that. So you know what? If they can make it work like that, that's I like that, because that means that like they're moving over in this direction, trying to get around, trying to make value proposition for the Xbox brand, not by just brute force competing with Sony. They're trying to do something that's interesting that you can't get on your computer or on your, well, I guess it's the NVIDIA Shield, right? But
yeah, I think that's it. But they're trying to be different.
Yeah.
And it's going to set them apart in a way that will help them in the long run, I think.
I like it. Speaking of Microsoft, apparently avatars are back.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. The Xbox One October update is going to be bringing back dem avatars, y'all, which is another cool thing. I always kind of liked the avatars, even though you don't never really use them for anything. I think there was some like Xbox arcade games that you could...
there was a few like not racing games. They were like what kind of racing games? Because one of them was like it was actually a Doritos like runner or some shit.
Gross.
And it was like you could like race your friends on it. It was actually pretty fun. But yeah,
Kingdom of Keflings, I think, was one that she did that where it brought in like the avatars from your friend list to be down on the ground.
There was also the 1 versus 100 thing that they used it for.
Oh yeah. They totally did that. So I've actually been really interested in this ever since they announced that they were doing it again, because apparently the avatars now look very good. Like they look really good, and apparently you're going to be able to, again, like use them in a game. And some of the avatar stuff that they were doing, this actually seems like it's a little bit less than what they had originally shown. Like what they originally showed looked a little bit better than this, but I still kind of like the idea of being able to make your little avatar and then bring them into a game to be your literal avatar in the game.
I was really happy with the original. Like I don't have an Xbox One, but when I had the 360, I bought a fuck ton of things for my avatar.
Yeah.
I had a Ghostbusters outfit, like a bunch of Captain America and Superman outfits.
Uh-huh.
Like just random shit like that, because I just liked the way it looked.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just one of those things that I remember when they announced the Xbox One, it was like, well, we're not going to have those little guys for a while. I'm like, that's a little kind of a bummer, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun to mess with.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, maybe I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. And then finally in Xbox news, it's probably going to happen. I know this is going to be really bad news for some people and really good news for some other people. But apparently Microsoft is kind of in the final stages of getting ready to buy Obsidian Entertainment.
Oh, wow.
Who recently have been, Pillars of Eternity, and I think Tyranny was one of theirs as well. Famously the people that made New Vegas, right? Yeah. That everybody
adores.
Yep. Including me now. Hey, look at that. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, I didn't like it for a long time. Now I do.
What happened?
I had a whole video about it. a whole video dedicated to nothing but talking about why I kind of turned it around.
And you won't believe what happens next.
Yes. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's see what they've done recently. No, not there, just by release date. There we go. Pillars of Eternity 2. I swear to God, I thought they did Tyranny. Maybe they didn't.
Couldn't say.
Anyway. So yeah. Now I think that's going to make a lot of people upset because Obsidian,
depending on what happens, maybe.
Yeah. Well, the Xbox One isn't really the place for hardcore Baldur's Gate style throwback RPGs. Which they make, and the people that like those kind of games really like those kind of games. So, who can say? But it is good in the fact that I love the idea that Microsoft, after fucking 3 years of dithering, is finally getting off their ass and buying some third-party studios to make video games for them, instead of just going like, oh, we're going to release Battletoads and Crackdown on a new Halo game this year. And that's it. 3 games, no waiting.
And no Crackdown still.
and oh yeah, we also canceled Crackdown or pushed it to next year. So speaking of new and interesting developments, we got a developer that's going to finish out the new Walking Dead franchise or series. So famously, Telltale imploded and exploded at the same time into a giant fart cloud of industry nothingness. Skybound Games is going to be finishing The Walking Dead. This is the gaming arm of Skybound Entertainment, which is the publisher that publishes the Walking Dead comic book. Their track record is mostly mobile games.
Yeah, I didn't know that he had a game company now.
Not that I feel like that would discount somebody from finishing The Walking Dead. I don't know.
It really matters writing wise. Like if they still have all the writers for it.
Yeah.
I think that's really what will make or break it either way.
Like they made a Giant Cop. I don't know if you remember Giant Cop.
I remember Giant Cop, yeah.
PSV, or there was an Oculus, or no, a Vive game, I believe, where it was just like you were a gigantic cop and you would do stuff.
You can throw people.
Yep. So hey, good news for everybody who was into that and who bought that season. You can at least you can finish it out. At least it's the final season. At least they're finishing the final season of The Walking Dead and not just chopping it off on episode 204.
That would have sucked. Holy shit.
Yeah. In other interesting industry news, oy vey. So EA is apparently looking for feedback on what fans really want out of the Command & Conquer series. In a typical EA move, EA went on to Reddit. They were like, oh, we heard you guys didn't like our stupid fucking idiot esports phone game that we announced at E3 this year. So what would you like out of Command & Conquer?
A sense of pride of an accomplishment.
And the answer, apparently, there's a quote here where they said, let's see. Who is this? Jim Vasella said, as a fan of Command & Conquer for over 20 years, I couldn't agree more. With that in mind, we've been exploring some exciting ideas regarding remastering the classic PC games and already have the ball rolling on our first efforts to celebrate the upcoming 25-year anniversary. So it sounds like they're going to pull a Capcom, and we're going to get a whole battle chest full of Command & Conquer games.
Remastering is all the rage.
Oh, yeah.
Spyro, Crash,
all
of the Mega Mans.
Well, but the whiff that I get off of this is that it's just going to be an up-res, right?
So so also the Ace Attorneys.
Yeah.
So Capcom, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. The only good side to this is that currently you can't just buy Command & Conquer Generals on the on Origin, I don't believe. I think you have to buy like some kind of big anthology edition that has it in there. And I love Command & Conquer Generals. Like, that was one of my favorite games. But, you know, like, this, to me, is the idiocy bullshit of EA where it's just like, well, what would you guys like to see us do with the Command & Conquer franchise? Like, I don't know, man, make a new Command & Conquer game. You fucking idiots. Like, make Red Alert 4 and bring in a bunch of cheesy people. Get Cardi B in there as one of the generals and, like, you know, I don't know, Kiefer Sutherland as the president. I'm sorry, I've been watching Soul Survivor.
Yeah.
So, but like, you know, what do you mean? What do we want out of the Command & Conquer franchise? Make more Command & Conquer games.
Yeah, make some normal Command & Conquer is really the answer, to be honest.
Yeah. Like before this, the last one that they were going to make, I played it at E3, and it was going to be a free-to-play, online-only skirmish game where you fought against other people. And it was just like, no, dude, just make a single-player campaign. Like, are you kidding me? Do you know how many fucking Steam games, RTSs with single-player campaigns there are? You and I played that Forged Battalion game where you could make your own units or whatever. That was great. That was super fun.
People want that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a market.
Yeah.
RTS.
Yeah. It's like every time they do this thing, they're just like, well, what do you guys want? It's like just the thing that you keep saying that we don't want. Horror games and stealth games and RTSs and
single
fucking
players.
Baldur's Gate rip-off single-player games and like, yeah, anything that's not Destiny, please. Please? Anything that's not Warcraft or Destiny is what we want.
What's that? You want more microtransactions?
No!
Let's work on that.
No!
We want to give you a sense of pride and accomplishment.
Yeah. That's why I stopped playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It was all the pride and accomplishment I felt in grinding and doing the same thing over and over again. Actually, I wasn't grinding. I just got bored. This game is boring. We'll talk about that later. Boring as fuck. Speaking of games that are not boring as fuck, this is a weird one. So you know how the Nintendo Switch Classics came out? They had the NES games that you could play with your online subscription on the Switch.
Yeah.
Apparently, they put out a kind of a modded version of Zelda called The Legend of Zelda: Living the Life of Luxury.
What?
Yeah. And what happens with this version of Zelda is you start the game with like the white sword, the magic shield, a shitload of rupees, a bunch of the sub items, and it's just like, yeah, do whatever, bro. Do whatever you feel like. And so you can, and then like when you get done, then the Master Quest or whatever is harder than the normal one. So it's like they give you a leg up to start out with, and then which
I'm so confused.
Okay. Allow me to explain it because I think I understand what it is that Nintendo wants people to play games like the old Legend of Zelda, but you know, a lot of people aren't down for NES challenges like the original Legend of Zelda, right? They might want a leg up and they might be a adults who don't have time to fucking remember how to play The Legend of Zelda, and just really want to go have that sense of accomplishment of plowing through Zelda in an afternoon instead of really digging into it, et cetera, et cetera. Like I was thinking about how hard it would be for modern day audiences if a lot of people, not everybody, and this gets into the whole like hardcore gamers versus not, but original Metroid sucks for like the first 3 hours. You've got like very little health and like this dinky gun that shoots like 2 inches on the screen and no bombs, and just it's horrible for a little while until you finally start to hit the curve where you're getting stuff. That's why I feel like A Link to the Past and like Super Metroid are far superior games because they have a level of accessibility that these don't. But it is weird.
It is adding replayability to something though, especially with the second quest is what it says there?
Yeah.
That's a harder than the normal one?
Yeah.
Like they're trying to make you play the re-releases of their same games again.
I mean, if it was I think I'd rather play that than start over. I don't know. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, because all they did was recently just come out with Super Dodgeball, so it's like it's either that or Super Dodgeball. So
I do appreciate the fact that they're trying to give you some kind of value proposition. They might just see that, one, people aren't signing up for the online pass, or two, that the people that are signing up for the online pass aren't playing any of the NES games, and they really want to try to get people to play them.
Yeah, they're getting criticized left and right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a horrible value proposition. It's fucking garbage compared to the other consoles. Hell, what are the PS Plus games this month?
Friday the 13th, and I forgot what the other one is because it's Laser something.
Oh yeah, some bullshit. Speaking of weird bullshit, I don't know if you saw this, but Techland, the makers of Call of Juarez, put out a video. And I should have made you watch this. I forgot to let you watch this video before we started. It's very strange. It's the guy who's like the Silas. The blurb on the video says Silas Greaves has something to say to Arthur Morgan and the Vanderlyn gang. Right. So I don't know if this is the main character or just the narrator from Call of Juarez Gunslinger because I never played it. But like he says, the Old West is full of legends, and you, Arthur Morgan, will soon be one of the greatest. I'm sure, because legends, they never die. They change to come back stronger than ever. And then it's like Call of Juarez Gunslinger. Which I think a lot of people have decided is probably that they're probably going to be doing a re-release, like a remastered version of Call of Juarez Gunslinger. But it's just so strange because Techland apparently has had like Call of Juarez went to Ubisoft, and Techland has been trying to get the rights back to it, and they just recently got them back to it.
Oh, good for them.
So, yeah, but it's a little strange to hear a studio basically, because like the video is like 30 seconds long, and it's just kind of still shots of Call of Juarez Gunslinger with this voiceover happening over it. But it is kind of just strange to hear a company as small as Techland and a game as small as Call of Juarez Gunslinger give an attaboy to fucking Rockstar and Red Dead 2. I mean, I guess,
It's because Western games aren't made that often.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I think they need to make more Western games. I mean, people shoot each other all the time in Westerns. People shoot each other in video games. The Venn diagram is a circle.
It's a perfect thing.
It's a perfect circle.
It just has more horses in it.
Yeah. Speaking of games where you get to shoot people all the time, Borderlands 2 is coming to PSVR.
I have one question for you. Explosions?
So, what are your feelings about Borderlands, Michael?
I've always really liked Borderlands.
Yeah.
The writing on it has always been really fucking funny. My only real issue with it sometimes is the sheer amount of guns that exist in it.
Yeah.
Because part of me is just like, ooh, another gun, realizing that it's probably not that much better than my gun currently.
Ooh, this one's 1% better. Let me go to this menu and swap it out.
Let me go back and okay, I remember when I played Borderlands 1, I kept going back and forth to sell the guns that I had excess of.
Yep.
And I ended up not finishing the game the first time around.
My big problem with Borderlands 2 was that I played through it with the Gunzerker, and then it's like I went back and I wanted to do more to play with one of the other characters because they had not Tech Romancer. That's like fucking fighting game. It was like a lady that had like a mech that she could call. and fucking Randy Pitchford. You guys remember when Randy Pitchford came out and said it was, quote, girlfriend mode, unquote, that the character that calls the robot to shoot everybody for them, this was the mode for your fucking idiot girlfriend who doesn't know how to play video games?
Randy Pitchford is dumb.
He's a piece of shit.
He's pretty terrible.
Anyway, I liked Borderlands 2 all right, but it didn't have a lot of replay value for me. Once I got to the end, I was just like, I like Handsome Jack as a villain. He's pretty cool.
He's hysterical. But the internet tells me like that they replay this game like every 20 seconds, apparently.
See, the main issue that I had is every time I went back to play it, the beginning of the game goes on for a long fucking time. It lasts
a very long time.
You got to like rescue Claptrap, and you got to find the hunter guy, and then you got to hunt the bully Mog and the bully Wog or the whatever. The weird, it's like right on the edge of being something really racist that I don't know if I'm saying something racist right now. And then once you get back into the Pandora or whatever, or once you get somewhere, it's like what you get the buggies and there's Tiny Tina and the big lady and whatever. What's interesting about this trailer though is that it appears to be just kind of a normal VR game where it's like you're going to be teleporting to move. Apparently you're going to get a gun in each hand, which used to be the Gunzerker's specific power was to have two guns at the same time. I feel like that could definitely make some interesting kind of tactical considerations.
I like the idea of it a lot and also Borderlands has always been a really fun world.
Yeah.
The side characters have always been really funny. Like Mr. Torque, who, fun fact, I'm going to bring up Dragon Ball, is voiced by the English voice actor of Mr. Satan.
Of course.
So it's hysterical to me.
I think we got a Yahtzee on that one. You got Spider-Man, Dragon Ball, and then
I got to mention Superman in there at some point.
Yeah.
Then you get a bingo.
There you go.
Bing pot.
If you guys at home are playing Rage Select Podcast bingo, then put in a square for Dragon Ball. I don't know. I'm a big fan of adapting some of these older games. Like, what I'd really like to see in VR is something like BioShock. Like, take the original BioShock. It's old. It's got to be pretty well known by now. They've already done it a few times. Or like BioShock 2. Remember how in BioShock 2 you could put a different thing in each hand? How you could have like a plasmid and then a thing. Like, that would be cool with the two-hand interface, right?
I love that.
You could drill people with your Big Daddy drill. So I think this is a nice step in a good direction. Borderlands is not my favorite, especially because the fucking Tiny Tina or whatever I think is just
a lot of people hated her.
I really don't like her. Everyone's like, come on, it's a little girl that says fuck, and I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't really matter to me. So yeah, I don't know. That's coming out. When was the release date for? It was like December or no, like October.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one.
December 14th. Yeah. And I think that right now it's specifically for PSVR. I doubt that will, if it is even exclusive, I'm sure that it's timed. Like, Gearbox would never let a penny go unpinched from the PC market.
Randy Pitchford needs some cocaine money.
That's right. Speaking of cocaine, how about Overwatch? We got a trailer this week. We're in the trailers, by the way, y'all. We got a trailer this week for the Overwatch Halloween, which started last Friday. Monday maybe, with a bunch of new skins. I love the Wrecking Ball one, the Hammond one where it's a giant pumpkin. I love the Jason Voorhees Soldier 76 one.
It's so good.
I love the Somber Bride of Frankenstein. So yeah, that's going on right now. And remember, as always, whenever they bring up a new one of these, you can always go back and get the old ones that you missed. So if you don't have Slutty Witch Mercy yet, like, that thing's got to be just cheap as balls by now.
That was the first one I got, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I don't even use Mercy at all.
Yeah.
Like, God damn it.
Yep. It was like, between the Slutty Witch and the Devil, like 1 million pornos just appeared in the air.
So many of them. So goddamn many of them.
Because regular Mercy's costume is not exactly like very like titillating. Anyway, I don't know.
The internet made everything titillating.
Well, there's that. There is always that. I do kind of want the Soldier 76 Jason Voorhees one.
It looks great. It's way better than his last one, which was like a zombie.
It was Michael. It was like the Thriller, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a Thriller one, but it just makes him look like a weird zombie.
Yeah,
and that's all it is, though.
Does he have a chainsaw on the gun? I haven't actually went to
Yeah,
look
he's
at
got
it.
like a chainsaw attached to the gun. Like, it looks like a Gears of War gun now.
Nice
because of it. But
nice.
Yeah, they added a few others as well that aren't in this trailer. I know they mentioned
Cool.
there's a new McCree one, but I don't think it's nearly as badass as his Van Helsing one.
Yeah. It's nice to see that Overwatch is still, that they get enough money off of the. Look, man, I don't like the loot boxes when they're like Star Wars Battlefront. I think the loot boxes like Overwatch are fine. I'm not a anti every loot box thing. Like if it doesn't change the game, it's just a cool version of my character, the guy that I like the most in a Jason Voorhees outfit. I'm okay with that. Like,
yeah,
because if I don't get it, you know what? Fine, I don't get it. Whatever. I don't ever even use the skins, Michael. They're all set to default on my Overwatch because, like, if I could make them all look like Halloween, if I could just buy Halloween for everybody, that would be one thing. But otherwise, I'm just like, nah, I just want them to all look like they look, out of the box. One of the classic.
I usually only use the skins for the characters I use. Like right now, McCree is wearing the Olympic one that makes his gun like America as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
I love that one.
Yep. He's got the flag, right? Instead of the... Yeah.
It looks so great. I love it.
Yeah. Let's see. We also got 2 trailers for Left Alive this week. One is a State of the World trailer we'll talk about in a minute. The other one is the release date announcement trailer, which is what the fuck was it? It was like March of next year? Yeah, March 5th of 2019. For anybody who's forgotten, this is the new game that Square Enix is putting out from the release is being the concept art is being done by the guy that does Metal Gear concept art. It looks very Metal Gear-y, but it's in the Front Mission universe. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say the character in this trailer with white hair kept reminding me of like young Ocelot.
Oh, yeah.
Like every time I saw him.
Yep. I mean, just like the camera angles and the way that things are framed makes it look an awful lot like a Metal Gear. Like if you told me this was Metal Gear 6 or something, I probably would have believed you.
I'd have a hard time not believing you.
Yeah. The mechs, I mean, the mechs look like Front Mission mechs, but I don't feel like anybody even knows what Front Mission very much is anymore. The last good Front Mission game, I think, was a PlayStation 2 game, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I mean, I actually watched some gameplay from this, and I was a little disappointed that it looks like it's just kind of a cover-based third-person shooter. It's got 3 different characters. I don't know. I'm also getting some like weird. It almost sounds like some Resident Evil 6 vibes off of it, like,
especially with the one guy who's got the kind of Leon haircut.
Yeah,
like I definitely can see that.
We do have some brief footage in here. There's actually footage of this game being played out on the internet. I've looked at some of it. I don't know. This one's a real wild card because just last week we got a release date for The Quiet Man, right? Which was another one where it was like, what are you doing, Square Enix? Like, what is this game? It's just some weird beat 'em up, but then it's got like all of this live action in it.
It's really fucking strange every time I see stuff for that one.
Yeah.
It's like, what if we made the bouncer again, but he was deaf? I was like, sure, I guess.
Why? Why do you want to do that? I don't understand.
Like Daredevil, but backwards.
Yeah. We also got a second trailer that basically just kind of goes over kind of the history of the Front Mission world and how, it's one of those worlds where it's like, oh, the city-states are all gone, but now we have big corporations that rule everything and they fight proxy wars with their mechs. So
is that the plot of G Gundam?
It's the plot of like every like half of the things, half of games and animes and whatever. So yeah, this is also, we're just looking at a video of some of the gameplay from TGS. I don't know. It looks like there might be some sneaking and stuff in here. I haven't watched a whole shitload of it yet. All I do know is that there's definitely, kind of cover-based shooting going on. Anyway, well, we'll definitely find out in March. From there, we got some Onimusha Warlords gameplay. Looks like Onimusha.
Yeah, it looks just like something I wanted for a while.
Yeah.
More Onimusha.
Yeah.
That's not sarcasm. I actually want more Onimusha.
I remember Onimusha having I remember liking it more than Resident Evil because since you didn't have bullets, like your resources weren't as scarce as in Resident Evil. So you weren't just constantly like trying to like you could actually grind areas and it was worth it because your sword, I think your weapons degrade a little bit, but they weren't anywhere. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as in Resident Evil. Like
it was more skill based, luckily.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of this reminds me more of maybe like Dark Souls or like Sekiro or something than Resident Evil. But yeah, I mean, what I'm really hoping though is that if this does good, that they release Onimusha 2 and 3.
You just want John Renault and more things, don't you?
No, I never played them.
I only played 2 or 3.
I only ever played the first one, and I liked it, but then I just never really got around to playing the second or third one. I mean, this is
2 was great. The third one was strange because it brought John Renault in.
Yeah,
which was very strange, but it wasn't too bad.
Well, you know that this guy, you know, the main character is like a model, right? He's modeled after a real person. There's one part of this where they got a doppelganger with a really weird looking facial expression. I don't know. It looks okay. I mean, you could still definitely see that they haven't done anything to like. It's got that whole thing where like the characters and the environment are very divorced because the environment's just a painting, and the characters are fully 3D and moving around.
Like they cleaned it up quite a bit. They HD'd the area basically.
Yeah, it's fine. You know what?
It's like Resident Evil 1's remake kind of thing.
Yeah, except that Resident RE1 remake, they had the GameCube remake to start with, which really went back in and
yeah, but that's what I mean. Is they HD just the GameCube one.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that.
Yeah, pretty much. But we'll get to find out more about that in January because that's when it's coming out.
Yay!
From there, this is a weird one, man.
It's super strange because the way I found this was that Henry Cavill posted this on his Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
I was looking through trailers and I was like, is that Gillian Anderson? Because, you know, I was a teenager in the 90s. I've got a huge fucking boner for Gillian Anderson.
There were so many random actors in this thing.
Yeah. So this is, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, the Squadron 42 CitizenCon like cinematic trailer. And for those of you who don't know what that is, Squadron 42 is the single-player story mission mode for Star Citizen.
Which is crazy.
Which is pretty nuts. And, like, okay, so let's just, you know, this game, it vexes me. It vexes me, and I will have it.
It has gotten so much fucking money. It was able to hire Gary Oldman, Henry Cavill, and fucking Mark Hamill and all these fucking people. Gillian Anderson,
fucking
a few other I didn't recognize right away.
Davos from Game of Thrones is in there.
It's fucking batshit insane that this game still keeps being given more money.
Not only that, but there's a bunch of kind of rando Magando people around that I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize that person. He's a character actor. So okay, you know what, Michael? I'm gonna go out on a fucking Jeff Lim over here, right? If this game is as good as this trailer is, then it will be one of my favorite games of all time. Because I have been lamenting. You remember before when they were like, oh, what do you want out of Command & Conquer? And it was like, just some fucking RTS games, bro. Some point, the video game industry decided that flight sims weren't a thing anymore and we weren't going to make them. Probably after Wing Commander 4 exploded or like bankrupted Origin. But like, I fucking love this shit. See, that's
is that Mark Strong.
That's yeah. Also, what was I just? There was another one. I'm sure we'll see him as we watch this trailer. But like, yeah, it looks like there's a big like. Okay, we're gonna learn how to fly a rookie, and then what's gonna happen? Oh shit, the elders are back, and there's a bunch of lizard monsters, and they're shooting at us. We got to take them down. I'm like, that's great. That's great. It's fine. I love it. I want to do it. I don't know who that lady is, but she's somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, like. If this, and not only that, but you do know that Star Citizen also has a full-on first-person shooter module to it.
Does it really?
Where you can go to space stations and play like a first-person shooter inside of things. If this game is about you on a big spaceship and you can take your little fighter, you can fight the aliens, you can go down on the ground, you can shoot them, and there's buggies, and you can drive around on planets, and there's bases and all that stuff. If all of that comes out the other side of this, and it works,
this could be really fucking cool, actually.
Except also the fact that they're making it specifically with like their nose thumbed at consoles, right? So like it'll never come to consoles because they're just making
they put like a million controls too.
Of like unpacked assets and shit in it. And this looks so much better than anything else I've ever seen for Star Citizen. That like John Rhys Davies, Paladin from Wing Commander also is in there. So it's, if nothing else, it's a damn impressive trailer.
Yeah.
If it was a movie, I'd watch it. If it was a game, I would play it. It's just, it's been like, what, 5 or 6 years?
It's still an alpha last time I heard, Star Citizen.
Yeah. And I don't even know if this is...
Superman Henry Cavill, not some dude.
Was that Henry Cavill?
Yeah, that was Henry Cavill right there.
Oh, okay.
That's him right there.
I don't recognize... Henry Cavill's face is like a
Oh, okay.
It's like a cipher to me. I just don't I'm like. Look, it's a white man. Yeah, and I don't even know. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to dig into this. I don't even know if like this is coming out as a separate module, if it's going to be included with regular Star Citizen, because there wasn't a single thing in this trailer about spending $400 on like a chip for you to.
Yeah, that's why I didn't know what it was. I'm like, what is this fucking thing?
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was just a whole new game, like entirely.
Yep.
But if it's Star Citizen related, that makes it even fucking crazier to me.
It might just be like a module for Star Citizen, but in any case, you know what? I hope it's a thing. I'm a little wary because you hear some shit about Star Citizen, right?
Star Citizen has been being made since I was in like high school.
Yeah,
That's how long this fucking thing has been being worked on.
yeah.
And
That was like what,
like
last year. Sorry. It's one of my perks as an old man is to make youth jokes.
Yeah, the youth of America.
Oh, the youth! You're all into the rap music.
The hibbity hop music.
Oh boy, we got to go a little bit fast here. System Shock. A Night Dive has a new trailer that shows the System Shock remake, kind of an alpha test that they're doing. They've pulled back from like really remaking System Shock into basically what looks like just kind of taking all of the old geometry and making the textures a little bit better. There's a lighting engine in it. To be honest, this looks a lot less interesting than what I originally wanted out of this. But I don't know.
I don't really have a dog in this fight.
Yeah.
Because I don't really remember System Shock that well.
I loved System Shock, and I think that this is weird because it looks like a very doofy game to me because it's all like weird bright colors, but then it's got this like really severe lighting engine to it that makes it look very serious, except that the geometry of the world is just dumb boxes and angles and bullshit like that. Like maybe even out it a little bit. Like you don't have to do everything, but like here at 19, 20 seconds or something like that. No, 18 seconds, 17 seconds. They're walking up a ramp, right?
Yeah.
Just turn this into stairs. Turn it into stairs. Like you don't have to remake everything, but like System Shock is an old fucking game, man. Like it came on floppy disks. And this really looks old and kind of janky. So, I mean, I'm sure the purists really, really want that. They always want it just to be 1-to-1.
That's the thing about remakes is you're not really sure what they want sometimes.
Yeah,
but who knows? Maybe it'll be a lot funner than it looks.
Maybe. I'll tell you what I really want is the sequel, or not the sequel, but the next game from the people who made Stories Untold, and that's called Observation. Go watch the trailer for Observation. I think it looks great.
It looks fucking fantastic. Actually,
it looks like kind of so it's like a horror game, but it's set on a space station, and you play as the AI people are trying to get them to help them survive whatever's happening on the space station. Great, that's great. That's right up the Stories Untold people's alley. Like, also, it looks a million times better than Stories Untold did.
It looks very, very fascinating.
Yeah.
And you're trying to keep this one woman safe.
Yep.
Keep Summer safe.
The faces, like the faces and the way that the characters move look really nice. Like they're only little small snippets in here, but like I don't know. It looks like they're doing maybe motion capture or something for it because they look really, really good. So anyway, we'll be finding out more about that in 2019.
It's fascinating.
Yep. Go watch the trailer. It's on YouTube. What? Just remember it. Observation. Observation. All right, few quick things, then we're going to take a break. First, hey, Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out. I don't know if you knew this.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say that you've never played Kingdom Hearts before and you want to get all caught up on Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, dear God.
Well, if you got a PlayStation, they got you covered because they're bundling together everything into a thing called Kingdom Hearts, The Story So Far, which is the Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5 remix, which is Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts 358 times 2 or divided by 2 days, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep Final Mix, and Kingdom Hearts Coded, and then as well as the Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue, which features Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance HD, Kingdom Hearts .2 Birth by Sleep, A Fragmentary Passage, and Kingdom Hearts X that is something Back Cover, which is a movie that Matt and I watched for Patreon, and we just put the whole thing up because fucking who cares? So yeah, if you want like 600 hours of like incomprehensible gobbledygook,
there's so many fucking games, and as half of those came out on different consoles.
Oh yeah,
like Dream Drop Distance is a 3DS game, for instance. Like
one of these is like a Game Boy Advance game, isn't it?
Yeah, it was Chain of Memories, but they made a special 3D version of it for PS2.
Oh, good.
And that's why it's called Chain of Memories instead of just Chain of Memories. That's about the extent of as far as I got at one point.
Yeah,
because I got tired of so many fucking Kingdom Hearts things. I was like, I don't need this right now.
Yeah, $40.
$40, really?
$40.
That's actually not bad.
Yeah, good deal if you got a PlayStation 4, and if you ever want to play them, $40. That's a shitload of games for $40.
You can hear Robin Williams lookalikes.
Let's see, and then this is going to mean virtually nothing to anybody else. So I'm going to make you all sit here and listen to me for 45 minutes. No, like 5 minutes. So Return of the Obra Dinn finally has a release date. And I know what you're saying. Well, first off, let's just say Return of the Obra Dinn is coming out on October 18th, and it's going to be $20, Mac and PC. Now, I know what you're going to be saying. What the fuck is Return of the Obra Dinn? What is that even? Are you speaking English? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Jeff? Well, Return of the Obra Dinn is the next game by Lucas Pope. And I know that you're going to say next, who the fuck is Lucas Pope?
I just assumed he was one of the popes.
Lucas Pope is the man who made Papers, Please.
Oh.
And he's been working on Return of the Obra Dinn for 4 years. Now, I don't know how many of you are old like Jeff, but there's a certain style of video games that you don't see. We see a lot of throwback to pixel art, a lot of throwback to NES, a lot of throwbacks to a lot of different things. But when I was a kid, I had an original Macintosh. And the original Macintosh was one of the first computers, I believe, that was black and white. It wasn't like amber chrome, it wasn't green, it was black and white. And it wasn't color either, right? So there was all these games that would come out where it was like you literally had to render what you wanted to show in black and white. So like if you wanted gray, you had to put a checkerboard of black, white, black, light. There was no gray. It was just black or white. So if you wanted a shadow, you would have to draw that shadow with essentially a checkerboard so that it made the shadow. It's a very distinctive style. Like a lot of people might not know what I'm talking about. Some people probably will. Return of the Obra Dinn is actually, I've been watching this game for a long time. It's a weird game where you're on a pirate ship and it's rendered in it's actually first-person 3D game, but it's got a rendering engine on top of it that makes it look like the style that I was just describing, where things are black or white, or you have a very kind of stippling effect for different things. It's a weird like insurance mystery where you're going around trying to figure out what happened on this pirate ship in like the 1700s, and you're getting flashbacks to what happened with the crew. And all in all, it's just a very, 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 like, see the way that this black jacket has dots on it is like, that's a thing from like old Mac days, right? It's very specific. I don't feel like I've ever seen it anywhere else before. But it's really interesting looking, and if you've never heard of it, I highly recommend going and checking it out because, like I said, it's coming out next Friday, I believe, and it's going to be $20. And if nothing else, the concept and the way that the game looks is just really fascinating to me. So
it kind of reminds me partially of the way Mad World was kind of animated, that black and white, but that distinct sort of dot system to try to add certain shadows and stuff. Yeah, I've seen this kind of art style once before, and I can't really pinpoint it. Like you said, they're old like Mac games and stuff. But it looks really fucking cool.
Yeah, it's very distinctive. It looks very different because it's hard to describe because like I said, there's no gray. There is only one state or the other. There is only black or white. So if you want a texture, you have to basically create like the gray types of textures that you want out of different things. I used to do this shit back when I was a kid. My first computer was a Mac. So like you could just draw the background that you wanted, but it was always a tile set. So I would do a lot of things about, let's try horizontal lines. Oh God, that hurts my eyes.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, that's coming out on the 18th, and I couldn't be happier. And last but not least, I I know what you're thinking. Just, this is a Rage Select podcast. We haven't talked enough about Overwatch yet. If you want to get you get your Lego Bastion on, you can do that. They're for $25. They're selling a little Lego Bastion set at the Lego store. He's got his Omnic colors, so it's just orange, and he's got a little bird, whatever his name is, like Salamander or Judy or whatever. I don't know. Forget what it's called.
I don't know his name.
Apparently, it also will it transforms into the turret.
Oh wow!
Which somebody on Reddit, because apparently Lego is not like advertising that fact, but apparently the kit will transform from Bastion into the turret version of Bastion.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, I'm really kind of tempted, not for this one, but once they come out with like the regular ones, of buying, every couple months spend $20 on a,
I'd buy a McCree.
Yeah. Well, then I guess the other question is, like, we saw a Tracer, the like minifig Tracer.
Oh, yeah.
But like, are they all going to be like this? Because Bastion's made out of things, right? I could see a Diva where you have a minifig of Diva, and then the suit, the mech made out of bricks. But
it really depends, because they're I do know they used to make Marvel ones.
Yeah,
there was a Spider-Man and a Wolverine one as well. That like the Wolverine one, for some reason, only came with one hand that had claws, which made it kind of pointless.
That's a little strange.
I know, it was very strange. They did shit like that. And they looked kind of weird, but they were kind of made the same way.
Yeah.
So it's possible, but whether or not they look good, who knows?
I want to see kind of what they all look like. So, and anyway, with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to answer some questions. So be sure to stick around. We'll be right back. And we're back. Michael, it's time for questions. It's time for the questions. Are you ready? Are you prepared for questions?
I'm not ready to answer that question.
Okay. Sounds like you're in the right place then. mail@rageselect.com is the email address, and our first question this week comes in from our friend Daniel, and he says, "Hello, Jeff and Michael. As I type this, I am suffering from a minor case of cognitive dissonance from this recent GameSpot post that showed how awesome the nuclear blasts look in Fallout 76. While the post, and by extension Bethesda, is trying to show how cool and epic this stuff looks, I can't look at a nuclear blast without thinking about death and destruction. Past few years of reading books, magazines, articles, watching documentaries on nuclear weapons, it's hard for me to consider this cool anymore. So my question is, have you all experienced similar experiences like this? Have you ever had moments with media that made you, that tried to make you hyped and excite you, but ended up feeling like the extreme opposite? Thank you. That's from Daniel. So times where the media is trying to be like, bah, bah, and you're like, ugh, gross, or just like doesn't work. It's funny that there is kind of funny how, like, play Uncharted 4 and Nathan Drake's our hero, and he just like shoots a shitload of people. Like, yeah. I mean, and it's different, I guess, in like, I guess playing Mark of the Ninja, right? And if you really want to get into this, then,
show the adventure part.
Well, okay. Let's go back to my two of my favorite points to bring up. One, Bruce Wayne the millionaire could do so much more for Gotham City than Batman ever could with money, right? And not just dressing up in his gym jams and going out and punching people. And two, speaking of punching people, knocking people out is not good for your brain. It's bad for your brain and can seriously fuck up like your whole. Like, you're not supposed to get knocked out. Like, there's a reason that, like NFL players and head injuries, like, that's a serious fucking thing, because it's not like when you knock somebody out, then they wake back up again. They're just like, oh man, sucks to get knocked out. Like, you can fuck somebody up hard by knocking them out. But, we're okay with that. How many movies have you watched where there's been like a thing where one character is yelling at another character, then they just fucking punch him and knock him out? We're all just like, ha ha ha, really shut that one up. And you're just like, and if you think about how you could be literally getting like brain damaged by doing that, and that person was just like, I don't want to listen to you anymore. Tee-hee.
Yeah, that's the thing about actual medicine, is that it turns out that if anyone gets knocked out at any point, they suffer brain damage at that point.
Yeah.
If they're knocked out for literally any moment of time, something went wrong with that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, when you brought up Batman, I thought about when Arkham Knight was coming out, and they're like, look how fucking deadly the Batmobile is. Look at all these fucking guns and rockets and shit. I'm like, he's fucking Batman. I'm not excited about a giant death machine.
But the Arkham Knight has remote controlled tanks that definitely don't have anybody in them, and when you blow them up, they definitely don't. The shrapnel doesn't go off and hit somebody.
And if you hit somebody, you definitely didn't actually hit them with the Batmobile. It's got a little shock that throws them away.
Yeah.
Which somehow sounds worse, I'm not going to lie.
Yep.
Because they're being launched pretty far.
Okay, so we can talk more about this particular thing, but to answer the question from Daniel, I'm pretty good at turning my brain off for shit like this. Like, I'm pretty good at the difference between,
actual atomic war and Godzilla.
Right. Considering it's just the saturation to me of media, and I can definitely see. I mean, especially it is kind of strange though, especially with nuclear explosions, because that's not something that we see all that often. I guess what Command and Conquer Generals, right? You can. You
mean like game wise?
Yeah, in games. I'm trying to think of games that really prominently feature like big, wide-scale nuclear explosions.
Well, there's one that's recently, but I feel like it's spoiler if I say.
Oh yeah. No, I'm talking about.
But yeah, it's like I'm trying to think of other games that were nuclear war, other than the Fallout games, right away. That actually, has it prominently. Like movies do it a lot, as well as TV shows. And the TV shows tend to make more jokes about them than movies do. Like there was a Family Guy episode I saw that made a really big joke about it, because there's like the 1950s and Chris and Peter are like playing catch, and you see a nuke go off in the background and they're still talking about their lives, and he grabs onto the fence while it's like blast is hitting him. They're still talking like normal.
Yeah. Well, hell, I mean, even the latest season of South Park has made a joke out of school shootings, which that caught me right the fuck off guard. I mean, last night's episode, as of us recording this, like they literally had an establishing shot of the school where there was a bunch of shots and like police cars out front, and then like panned over to the community center to start the episode, as in just like another day. And like I definitely understand that as satire. On the other hand, I could definitely understand that, like, if you were maybe a fan of South Park and have had somebody in your family that was killed by school shootings, that turning on a show to be like, it's Wednesday, let's get some laughs in, and be like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah, in the last season, they nuke, Canada? If I remember correctly, at the end of it, like Mr. Garrison nuked something.
Oh,
but that's the thing that's another thing.
It was Canada. Yeah,
there's another example of nukes as like a quick gag, and they were really that was the first episode of the season, right? The school shooting thing.
I think so. Yeah,
and like some of it got like when it first starts, it's kind of shocking, but as it progresses, you yourself start getting used to the fact that school shootings are just randomly happening around these characters, especially like towards the end where Cartman and Token are like, we got to get to class so we can take the quiz.
Oh, right.
And it just becomes this weird war movie almost.
Yeah.
And Butters has a gun because he's the hall monitor.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is happening?
And in some ways, like, you could say that like in that particular case, we don't want to get too far down in the weeds on this, but
that could be a whole thing.
In this particular case, I think that there is an idea of South Park showing you this over and over again to show you how desensitized we kind of are to that sort of thing. But in any case, I don't know. Like I said, I'm really good about switching off my brain and because otherwise, I mean, it's hard to enjoy anything that's not just like two people having a philosophical conversation about something. I mean, like I said, we've been watching Designated Survivor, right?
Yeah.
And like, not just talk about cognitive dissonance. There's two plot threads in Designated Survivor. One of them is the badass FBI agent that's trying to figure out what happened and put together all the pieces. And there's a lot of shooting people and doing dumb shit. There's also a lot of like just like there's an episode where they want to get the medical records for somebody out of a medical records building, and this British guy who's with the lady is like, we should get a warrant. And she's like, no, HIPAA requirements would make it take forever. And that's the like keeping your medical records confidential. The people can't just go sorting through your medical bullshit. And so they just break into the building and steal the record. It's just like, well, now, okay, right? Like, I understand this is 24. On 24, it's better because it's so ridiculous that, like, nobody thinks that Jack Bauer actually exists in real life. You're just like, oh, yeah, it's like a power fantasy more than anything. Not only that, but, like, the politics side of Designated Survivor, Kiefer Sutherland does something stupid. Well, first off, every single week there's some kind of dire crisis. It's like there's an outbreak of a disease. One of our warships is in the wrong sea of one of our enemies, or like blah 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 blah. I'm on season 2, and I think those were back to back. And then like he makes a rousing speech to the guy in Congress, and then suddenly they'll go ahead and pass his bill. And if the last 2 years of government has taught us anything, it's that one rousing speech, I don't know, maybe Kiefer Sutherland's rousing speech would convince us all to just do whatever the fuck he wanted us to. But even that, like it's like watching The West Wing, right? Is that at the end of the day, all your friends on The West Wing get to do the thing and not, So I don't know. I have a pretty good disconnect between, like,
it really depends on what it is
and reality.
Like if you have dealt with something at some point, I could see that being an issue.
Yeah.
Like I've been in a lot of car accidents. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
And sometimes when something's like, here's a really bad car wreck, I have a small little flashback towards my worst one. But even then, it's just like, yeah, I get past it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But like when the closest thing I could say, like besides the Batman thing, is when a game's just like, isn't this fucking cool? Like, look how insane this one thing is. It's like, no, like, I just want to know what's happening in the story. I don't need to know that I can, like, stare at a security guard and watch him go home and eat his dinner or something. Like, that doesn't excite me.
I'll tell you, out of all of the moments of violence in video games, out of just about every single violent video game moment, even TV shows, I tell you, one of the things that no matter who I talk to about it, that like squicks people out more than anything is that fucking E3 Death Stranding trailer where he tears his toenail off, or his toenail's all fucked up, and he just pulls it off, and people are like, like there's literally footage of just killing like hundreds of people all getting blown up or whatever, and this guy just like tears one toenail off, and he's just like, oh shit, no. I think it's probably because you can relate to that more than you can, Call of Duty shooting somebody in the face, right?
Yeah.
Is that, you probably have had, statistically speaking, some kind of bad fingernail injury at least once in your life where things were gross and fucked up. I remember mine. It was gross and fucked up.
It's like a non-flashback for you.
I dropped a soup can. It landed on my big toe, and the toenail filled up with blood underneath it, and then it started dying, and then there was like this weird juice coming out from underneath of it, and then one day it all just kind of came off, and there was like a little baby toenail, and it grew all the way back in. It was fucking awful.
That's kind of amazing because I've never had anything like that. I had a wooden pallet fall on my foot.
Yeah,
and all it did was make my toenail like way thicker. No idea.
You ever hand slammed in a car door?
A couple times.
Yeah, that's not a good one
fun.
either.
No.
I remember that happened to me all the time when I was a kid. I don't know how, but I remember one time that it happened and the door was locked, and I had to try to get my parents to unlock the door. They were on the other side of the car, and I was like, quick, please, hurry, hand to the door, I need you to unlock it.
As a younger brother, you like to fuck with it with your brothers as much as possible.
Hand slamming a car door. God damn, that sucks. Let's see. Michael writes in. And he says, "Dear Jeff and Michael," and he's actually talking about Wolf Guy that John and I talked about a few back. But I think that this one kind of goes for everybody. Heard you guys discuss Wolf Guy 2 episodes ago on the podcast with John. I remember reading the manga online until the English scanlations finished a few years back in college. Mainly remember it being quite brutal and realistic in its depiction of the impact of violence on the human body. Never saw the movie, however, and didn't realize it was that old, 1999. However, on to the question. Do you guys read manga? Ever read manga? If you do, I recommend the work of the same author as Wolf Guy. It's called Akametsu. Why do I recommend it? Oh, it's a big spoiler, so I'm not going to read that. Cheers and sorry for the long and maybe pointless email, and that's from Michael from Flanders. Read any manga there, Michael?
I don't read as much as I used to. I still keep up with the Dragon Ball Super one because it's a lot different than the anime. I have the entirety of Scride's manga on my shelf, which is only like five to be honest. I also read the Fooly Cooly manga, which because there's only 2 of them.
Oh.
And I read like it's a lot of Dragon Ball ones. I read Naruto when it was first starting, but I didn't keep up with it after Shippuden started.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those things that it was just harder and harder to legally read a manga because there was a lot of scans and stuff because it would come out as like one of my old bosses, he read One Piece as it was coming out that way.
Yeah.
Like I'd show up to work. He's like, "It's Tuesday, Michael." I'm like, "I don't understand." He's like, "New One Piece, bro." And then he would sit there reading One Piece in the middle of work, like knowing full well he was supposed to be doing something else.
Yeah, no is really my answer. I mean, I stopped reading comic books 10 years ago, mostly because I learned that you can really only have one very expensive video or game, one very expensive time-consuming hobby, and mine is video games, right? Like, I finished Kiwami 2, I finished Mega Man 11, I'm replaying Mark of the Ninja, I got Assassin's Creed sitting here, right? Like, I don't have time to be reading anything outside of that. Although, there have been a few exceptions. One was... I was a really big fan of Hellsing back in the day, and before Hellsing Ultimate came out, at some point I stumbled onto a forum post talking about how insane the Hellsing manga got because the original anime just stopped at a certain point, made up a bad guy to be the final boss, ended it. It was okay. But the manga, like, this is before Hellsing Ultimate, the show came out. The manga, got into this whole bullshit with like the Nazis and London is destroyed and there's werewolves and there's the fucking magicians and crazy snipers, and it was like reading Metal Gear, man. It was crazy. So I remember reading all the way to what was current on that, and then like waiting for 4 years for more of it to be like, that's the way I find better than anything else, was just to like wait. Like when you get to the end of a thing, then just if you put it out of your mind and find something else until there's a lot of it. Because I hate before binge watching was a thing, I still hated watching a thing week to week, reading a thing month to month.
Yeah,
I don't like waiting for stuff like that. I like to get it all and then just shove it all into my face, and then I'm done with it, and then I can go on from there. But
my favorite thing about mangas, though, is that a lot of them, when an anime gets made about them, they don't wait for the manga, like you were mentioning with Hellsing.
Yeah.
They'll just keep fucking going. And so they'll make up their own story in the anime. And then you'll end up reading the manga and being like, why is this 1,000 times different?
Right.
And some of them are that from the get-go. Like I mentioned Scride, for instance. Like the Scride manga is only 5 volumes, but it's so batshit fucking crazy compared to the anime that came out with it, which is like 40-something episodes.
Yeah.
You're like, how did this turn into this sometimes? Like, that's a fun thing to look at certain mangas. Like, Full Metal Alchemist was one that didn't wait for it, and then they ended up making Brotherhood, the same way you mentioned Hellsing, where they eventually made a version of it kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. I watched as many Full Metal Alchemist as there were and then stopped, and then I have no interest in going back and watching it anymore. I'll tell you what, though, because... there was a certain point where I decided that the other one was Berserk, and like, I'll be real honest here, man. I fucking hate the Golden Age Berserk. I think it's I think it's boring because it starts out with this really crazy cool demon hunting Guts doing his thing, and then it's like, let's flash back for like 400 issues to the young Guts getting raped by his stepfather or whatever, and like, and then there was all the now I'm a mercenary and I met this pretty guy and we're kind of in love, but he's gonna make a deal with Satan, blah blah blah. By the way, spoilers for Berserk. I just saved you like hours and hours and hours, so many hours. And so, because as near as I can tell, none of the actual animated Berserks ever get past. They get to the, what do they call it, when the egg opens up and the guy becomes part of the Cenobites or whatever.
I don't really know what that point is called, but it's usually the point where shit just gets fucking crazy.
Right, and the woman gets raped by... Berserk loves raping people.
It loves rape. Holy shit.
Like, boy howdy, does that...
There's a what is it, the horse rape meme where it's that face that horse. Oh, it's fucking weird. It's actually kind of terrifying.
So in any case, I looked at the releases and it was like all of the Berserk stuff it always feels like they get to that point and then the funding drops out or they can't make it anymore, and then none of them got past that point. And it's just like, well, that's like the beginning. It takes like 600 issues to get to the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, it's like if a movie started, right? And it was like 4 days earlier, and then there were 12 movies before it finally got back to where it started. And I want the beginning part. I don't want the flashback. So anyway,
it destroys the point of starting it in the future.
Right. And if it started at the beginning of Berserk, I wouldn't have been interested in it because it's just some fucking swords and sorcery bullshit. Like there's not a lot of the demon stuff, which is the interesting part, until way later down in the story. Yeah. It's all this like mercenary company and we're best friends forever. Oh, my friend, let's have potatoes for dinner. But then I started reading it. And I finally got past that point, and I kept reading it, and then it kind of mellowed out a little bit, and I was just like, no, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, I was reading it, and I downloaded it. I was reading it online because
that's what most people did.
I was a guy.
A lot of people still do that now.
Right. Well, you know what? I was going to go to the store and buy. I mean, I'm being sarcastic when I say 60, but what are there, like 20 or 30
There's quite a bit.
Volumes of Berserk, and each one of them costs money dollars. I don't have that money to be spent on 30 fucking books about Guts and his dumb fairy pal and the wizard sorceress that comes out and his friend who got raped by demons and she's fucking fucked up in the head. And then, like, that's another thing with manga that I have a problem with. I'm sorry, this turned into Jeff is going to bitch about manga.
Jeff hates manga.
I haven't read that many, so I'm sure there are some that are fine. But
there's some great ones.
Like, even in the Hellsing, when I was reading that one, I was like, I am so glad that I did not pay money for this, because there will be an issue where nothing happens. It's like one conversation, a bunch of full-page spreads of really intricate art, bunch of guys powering up to 9,000, and then it's fucking like, come back next week, and the first thing that happens is before they can hit each other at 9,000, some other guy comes in to have a conversation, and then a bunch of full-page illustrations, and then everybody's getting psyched up for the battle. Now we're about to, all getting up to 9,000, we're going to punch each other. Wait for next week. Nope, sorry. We're going to keep doing this, and it's just like, you know what? Say what you will about American comics, and I understand the difference between a long, like, people like it. People like the way that Japanese storytelling gives you a very long build-up, because it makes the payoff better if you have a long time and you're getting to know your characters. And if you really get into it, right, then the payoff is like, oh, there's these characters that I've known for years. It's like when you get to the end of I don't know, Star Trek, right? In All Good, is it All Good Things? It was the finale of Star Trek.
I think so.
You know, Star Trek. Again, I'm not afraid. I'm a fucking manly man, dude. When Picard goes to the card game and he says, "I should have done this a long time ago," and Troy is like, "You were welcome anytime," and they just pan up from that, I cry, because I've spent 8 seasons with those guys and they feel like friends, and seeing them all happy and together playing a game is like a great finale. However, sometimes in manga it goes on for so fucking long that I have stopped being friends with these people and I've started hitting my desk going, "Do something already, please." Sorry, Archer. Sorry, my dog was very scared of me hitting. He's fine with me yelling and screaming, but banging on stuff he doesn't like.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, not all mangas are like that.
Yeah, some are like that. Like I love the Trigun series.
Yeah.
But the manga's kind of like that, where it's like, I don't really know what's happening anymore.
Yeah.
And it's another instance of this is completely different, because the manga kept going way past the show at that point. And like Wolfwood survives in it, for instance. Like, it's different. But then sometimes, some are almost perfectly one for one. Like I've read about 80% of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure one.
Okay.
Like I stopped at like part 6, which is
I can only imagine that JoJo's might do that, the shit that I was just talking about.
Some of it does not, but it's mostly one for one. But there's some stories that don't happen in it.
That explains why there's some episodes of the show where nothing happens, which is some guy talking in his head about how he's going to hit another guy for 25 minutes.
But yeah, there's some stuff that doesn't happen in the anime that happens, of course, in the manga. But it's so little that it's almost one for one. But that's, some mangas are really good about it. Some are really bad about it. Like Dragon Ball, I think Dragon Ball's manga actually is faster than, because it's not full of screaming for most of it. Like there is some here and there,
but it's a panel.
But it's a
screaming.
panel of him going Kaioken times 3 or something,
right?
Instead of 10 minutes of him trying slowly going Kaio, like instead of that,
right?
So you can like the biggest joke in the anime world is it's going to take 5 minutes for Namek to explode, and so you go through 3 DVD discs later, and it finally explodes. And whereas in the manga, it's like, oh, there's like maybe 7 pages of this fight kind of thing.
Yeah. Personally, I'll tell you, I mean, I've said it before a bunch of times, and I'll just say it again a bunch more times. Like, the pace of One Punch Man was perfect for me because it was just like, bam, bam, boom, boom. Like, going, doing, episode. And
I've actually read that manga too, technically.
Yeah.
Because it's actually a webcomic a dude draws.
Yeah, the original?
Yeah. I found a bunch of translations of the original one, and it's like all this really bad drawing.
Yep.
And it's fucking amazing.
I thought about reading that because, I knew that was out there too, but then I was like, you know what? I just want to watch the show. Like, I'm willing to wait and just watch the show because I fucking love the first season of that.
It's just as funny, if not a little funnier, only because of you're seeing these like really badly drawn versions of these characters that you're used to in super like intense drawings.
Yeah, like the kind of like derpy Saitama face is kind of like the style that everything is in
it's
the
amazing.
In the comic.
I loved it.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Michael. Sorry I couldn't. Sorry, I just used your complain about mangas. All right, let's see. Chris writes in and says, "Hello, Jeff and Michael. I have a question / topic of concern that I would like your opinions about. Sorry if this is too long. It is pretty long, but we're going to read it.
We'll forgive you.
October 13th is the PlayStation VR's 2-year anniversary. I myself purchased one last year on Black Friday, and while I absolutely love the hardware itself, the lack of AAA games for it is alarming. Undoubtedly, the best game for PSVR is Resident Evil 7. Extremely immersive, fun, scary, but more importantly, it's an actual game. A game that you can play without a VR headset and about 5 to 8 hours of gameplay. Unfortunately, it's one of the few full-on AAA games for PSVR other than Skyrim and Fallout. Fallout on VR? On PSVR?
I'm not sure,
Fallout
actually.
4 on the Vive. But
I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, games like Superhot VR, Until Dawn, Rush of Blood, Doom VFR, Batman VR, Arizona Sunshine, Job Simulator, etc., are all really cool. They're not full games that you can lose yourself in and play for hours. Just too many, quote, experiences, unquote, and games that would not be fun to play on a normal TV. What concerns me about the lack of AAA games is that the PSVR doesn't get the support from big-time developers because they look at it as a risk, even though the PSVR has sold 3 million plus of units, so less games will be made for it. I don't think E3 2018 showcased any games for the PSVR. So I fear that the PSVR will become virtually extinct, if not nothing more than playing small budget games or because of lack of development. I mean, hell, the PS Vita sold around 5 million, but was terribly mishandled and marketed poorly. Is there any hope for PlayStation VR, PlayStation VR, or there's a typo. Or is it just a matter of time before it's virtually extinct? Thanks for all you do. Your loyal patron, Chris.
He has some points on some of that. Because, the Vita sold really well, and then they mishandled the fuck out of that thing.
Oh, yeah.
The PSVR, though, they're marketing it still pretty well, though, I think. Like, there's still plenty of games that still come out that go, hey, this will be on your VR kind of system.
What in the fuck? This is the second time I've seen something about Red Dead having PSVR.
Well, it has a first-person view.
Yeah.
So that might let you try to use a little more with that. I don't know if it'll change the camera or something. But who knows on that one? Like, it might, maybe it's just one of those things where you can still use it to view the screen. Maybe. I'm not really sure on that one.
Well, you can do that with anything. I mean, you can launch any game and watch it on a big movie screen.
So you could probably technically do that with the first-person view then.
Oh, yeah.
You can
do it with a third-person view. You can do it with any view.
No, but it makes it more immersive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. The main thing with that is I wish that I could do that, but have them add 3D in, which they don't really. So, it's funny. There are some games that I feel like people don't really know about that are either coming to or are already out on PSVR. Like Michael and I played Astrobot Rescue Mission last week.
Super fucking fun,
which was really cool. I do take your point though, Chris, about AAA PSVR games.
Yeah.
Because that is something that I feel like we don't see a shitload of. And then one of the problems, of course, is that, you know, like if you have something like God of War that's pushing the edge of the graphical envelope of the hardware that you're running on, your hardware still has to be able to run at 90 frames per second on the PSVR. I think that there's a weird... Okay. I think that Sony likes having their own VR. I think that they think that it sets them apart from the Xbox in a lot of ways. Like, it gives them a leg up. It gives them a thing where they can say, hey, look, it's less expensive than a gaming PC, but hey, if you buy our thing, you get a VR. You can possibly have a VR component to it. There are some cool experiences for the VR. You know, they're not all great, but some of them are very fun. But then I feel like there's a thing that we don't really talk about that much, which is that VR is different than video games, or than non-VR. Is that like, you know, I was just talking about translating about when we're talking about Borderlands 2, about bringing something like, say, BioShock into VR.
Yeah,
but that doesn't really work as well in VR. I mean, because it's almost like it's too immersive. Like, it's so immersive that your normal abstractions you have between your hands and the controller and the TV doesn't work anymore because your brain thinks I'm here. Like, so it actually feels much more natural to use the PlayStation Move wands as hand analogs and see your hands. Like, it feels a lot better to play a game like that than it does just to have something with a controller, which then means that you can't make the same style of games that we already make. Like, it's not the same experience anymore. It's not... I used to be a big advocate for, like, hey, man, just fucking put Grand Theft Auto 5 in VR. And I wonder whether that would be good or not, because it's possible that using the abstracted controller with something that's a first-person, like I turn my head experience, might end up being really nausea-inducing because, you know, I'm sitting in a chair. My legs aren't moving, right? At least when I'm playing Arizona Sunshine, I'm standing up and I have a controller in each hand that simulates a hand and a hand, right? And I'm doing things with my thumb and my finger that feel much more natural. So I don't know. I think that might be one of the reasons that you're seeing fewer things get ported to VR. Now, personally, I think that when we're playing Astrobot Rescue Mission, that the solution to this problem is actually different than what developers... Like, if you wanted to put a game on... If you wanted to put Grand Theft Auto on VR, the way to do it is like Astrobot Rescue Mission, where you're just looking at your character from behind. Because if you're a camera that is attached to the back of your character, that's going to be less jarring to you than a first-person perspective where it looks like you're in a world but your legs aren't moving. And I think that, like, Astrobot Rescue Mission and some of the other games like that show perfectly well that you can have a really enjoyable experience just being a weird big observer into an existing style of video game. You can play a platformer where you're just sitting there. You played a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Looking up, looking down.
It felt great, too.
Yeah.
Like, I was expecting to get motion sick because I've played some of these other VR games where eventually I got kind of motion sick. Like, and a lot of them are the first-person ones.
Yeah. Like, there was an old game that I played on the... I still have my DK2, my Oculus Development Kit 2. That was called I think it's called like Onrush or something like that. And it was like it's kind of a little like Mario Kart thing. But the VR version was, it's just like you were a giant looking down a little track full of the cars, and then you were driving the car from like a giant looking down on it. And it was really fun and just way more immersive than that game would normally be if I was just, playing it. So I often thought, like, it'd be great, in my opinion, for VR, Diablo, right? If you were just a giant, like, looking down at the field of Diablo and then moving your character around, like, you get all the 3D, right? And then you can kind of put your head in close and see your little avatar running around. And because Diablo is so abstracted already, like, you're not pushing forward to move your viewpoint forward, it would be fine.
Yeah.
Like in Astrobot, right? You don't have as much motion sickness because your viewpoint is very gradually moving along, and then the character on the screen is moving all over the screen instead of you turning your viewpoint every which way that you want to. So I think that it would be better for them to do more with like third-person games. But I don't think it's going anywhere. I think that it's going to be around for a little while, mostly because, well, if Sony gave the axe to everything that didn't sell very well, as you said, the Vita was mishandled, but it still was in production for like 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, they didn't just randomly stop it within like a week.
Yeah.
And they're still very much supporting this thing constantly.
Yes.
Like, it'll constantly show up on the store like, hey, do you want to buy a VR real quick? Or do you want to buy this VR game? It's pretty fucking rad. And you're like, yeah, this is pretty rad.
There is some cool stuff. If I can make some suggestions, Ace Combat 7 is going to have full PSVR support, which I cannot wait for, because VR is perfect for a thing where you're like a mech game or like a driving game, where if you were driving a jet, right, you wouldn't turn your head left to turn the jet. You would turn your head left to look around you, and then you would use a stick to move the vehicle around. And so that to me works great. I played a few mech games where it was like that. It's great. Like that to me is Hawken had you could play in PSVR, and it was great. It was in the Oculus, and it was wonderful. As you mentioned, Astrobot Rescue Mission is great. It's
phenomenal, and it's adorable.
Yeah, a little pricey, $40. Beat Saber is a big phenomena on.
It's all over the internets.
Yeah, people love it. Go watch. There's you know what? Actually, I tell you what, Chris. Go look for a YouTube channel called Up Is Not Jump. It's this British guy that does VR like little essays, and he's fucking hilarious, but he's also good at talking about stuff, and he's entirely devoted to virtual reality and talks at length about like why Beat Saber works is because you don't have to move around, you don't have to learn a button. Beat Saber just gives you two fucking lightsabers, and then the blocks start coming at you along with the music, and you instantly know what to do. There's no learning curve. I'm actually reading off a list here, but I know some of these games. Blood and Truth is a game that I'm really interested in, where you're like a 007 spy and you're sneaking around and blasting on people. That doesn't have a release date yet. Let's see. Ghost Giant was a thing that they showed at E3 that looked kind of interesting, where it was like it looks like Animal Crossing almost, like a little character, but then you are just you are actually a ghost giant in the world that can like help and pick stuff up. It's kind of like, what if the Iron Giant was you as the Iron Giant?
That sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm only trying to talk about the ones that I think actually look kind of interesting, because there was another one. There's another one that I was thinking of. Vacation Simulator. But see, Zone of Enders didn't work. Zone of Enders 2 didn't work in VR because it puts you in the cockpit. I don't know if you were like visualizing your head is that your cockpit is in the dick of the of Ingenuity, and you just keep ramming up against robots as you jump in to do a thing. Deracine is a game that is being made by Miyazaki and From Software.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of got this weird kind of exploration thing. I think that, you know what, Chris, at the end of the day, here's what I think is a good way to think about it. I don't think that PSVR is dying. I don't also think that it's thriving. I think it's an experiment that Sony wants to keep doing to set themselves apart from Microsoft. And I think that if you think of VR games as their own type of video game, that like when we say video game, we just mean video game. But I think it works better if you think of a VR experience as something that is not, you know, I mean, you just ask yourself, like, Skyrim is in VR, but I don't want to play 200 hours of Skyrim in VR. I'd like to play it sitting at my desk comfortably where I can just look away from the screen, right? I don't want to be strapped into the whole thing. Arizona Sunshine is about 4 hours long. That was perfect. It was like 2 sessions. Super Hot's about 2 hours long. That was great for me. I loved it, right? Replayed it 3 times, but so yeah, I don't know.
I think what makes it different than the VR is the fact, or not VR, what makes it different from the Vita is that the Vita just sort of was a series of ports of games.
Yeah.
And VR is actually just doing different things instead.
Yes.
I think that's what really sets it apart, and what the reason I think it's doing just fine, all things considered.
Yeah. All right, what do we got next here? This comes in from Andrew. Andrew says, "Hey Jeff and Michael, I recently checked out." Oh, this is more anime/manga. So we've got a big anime manga contingent here. I recently checked out the anime Goblin Slayer because I heard that it was basically a medieval Doom Slayer. While that is true, and it sounds awesome, the way it sets up how goblins are evil is quite brutal. I'm no stranger to intense horror or anything, but the way it's done here just really left a bad taste in my mouth, and I couldn't get any satisfaction out of watching them get slaughtered, even if that part is done well. Is there anything that on paper sounds like it's right up your alley, but it does something that really puts you off? Keep calm and rage on, Andrew. If I'm not mistaken, from a meme that I saw, are the goblins really rapey? Is that the
probably? I haven't actually seen Goblin Slayer, but it sounds right.
You know the meme where the clock has the same thing at every thing.
It's one of those things.
And it was that with the goblin, and every thing said rape, and then and then it was just like a big explosion of blood, and the Goblin Slayer was there, and he said, "I must be in a different time zone," and then it showed his clock, and it just said, "Kill goblins, kill goblins, kill goblins, kill goblins."
That sounds about right. Yeah, because that's the thing is there's a lot of that's one of the reasons I didn't really read or watch Berserk, because Berserk sounds great on paper until it just says rape over and over again. That's the thing is rape. Like when rape comes into play on literally anything, you're just like, I don't want to deal with this right now.
Yeah. It is interesting because it's something that we bring up from. Oh my goodness. What the fuck? All right, never mind. I don't, okay, yep. I'm sorry.
Right away.
I looked it up on YouTube. Yep.
We see what you mean.
Again, this is going to come back to. I feel like there's kind of a weird theme going through these questions. I didn't do this on purpose, but like cognitive dissonance, right?
Yeah.
Like certain things will affect people and pull them away more than other things. Also, it's worth noting, and it's a thing that I talk about constantly, which is like Japan and Japan's relationship with sexuality and sexual assault is different.
Very strange.
It is different than ours. And you know, the way that I have to look at it is I'm not the mayor of Japan. I'm not the governor. I'm not the president. I'm not the viceroy. I have no place to tell Japan how to do what they do, right?
This is partially America's fault, though.
Yeah.
World War II was not kind to them afterwards.
Yeah. Well,
in a lot of ways.
There are a lot of, I mean, basically it's just what it's worth remembering is I feel like when we get into this kind of, over the last 10 years, we've had such a big influx of other cultures. Like, you watch Bollywood. People are like, oh, I love Bollywood movies. I remember, 10, 20 years ago.
Slumdog Millionaire was opened the door for everyone to be like, what is this Bollywood thing going on?
Anime, I mean, I constantly talk to people about how, like, I was alive in the time when it was like, I don't know. I was watching.
It was like Black Market almost.
Fucking Movie Bob, where he reminded me where he was like, okay, so in the late 80s, it was FHM and it was mostly just Macross and like Geiking and Mangeyser Z and those things. And then in the 90s, it was like Akira, Ghost in the Shell, Ninja Scroll, and then like maybe Project AKO,
like Vampire Hunter D,
or Vampire Hunter D. Yeah, like it was always just like you weren't getting new stuff. It was mostly the same thing. Like they weren't putting out Gundam here. And then like sometime in the late 90s, I feel like they started bringing over like Evangelion and Cowboy Bebop, and everybody was just like, what?
Well, part of it was that
and then Adult Swim.
I'm gonna fucking say it again. It was Dragon Ball, Ball, Sailor Moon, Pokemon to a certain extent.
Sure.
The funniest thing though is that like I've mentioned this before is that. The way I started watching anime was in Spanish.
Yeah.
Originally. Like there was a channel in Mexico, I guess, that I could pick up using my antennas that played a fuck ton of things. It was Ranma half, Dragon Ball, all of the Dragon Ball shows, a few other Pokemon, as well as a few other, like Macross was on there, like a bunch of random shit. But during this time frame, this was just before Toonami had started and just was showing these things. So there was a small time frame where I did what you were saying is where we would find a guy who had the one tape of like maybe a weirdly bad dub of an anime, and that's how we would watch. Like that's how I watched the first few Dragon Ball movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had a bad dub tape of the very first Dragon Ball movie called Curse of the Blood Ruby, if I remember the name of it. And that was the only English Dragon Ball I had for years until they started coming out with it in America. And so, yeah, it was very much just all of a sudden anime fucking just exploded in America. And then it died down for a bit and then it exploded again. Like it just seems to be going back and forth.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that way.
But I guess what I find interesting is that, you know, people have so much more exposure to this stuff now. But the longer that you watch anime and read manga, the more you have to remind yourself Japan is a different country with a different culture and a different set of things that are important and not important. And, you know, in America,
it gets really creepy sometimes.
You know what? My Hero Academia is a perfect example, right? There's the guy with the grapes on his head who's just a big old pervo, right? And that's a thing in anime, is a character that's like would be considered a real creepy cretin that everybody on in the anime is just like, ha ha ha, he's a pervert and wants to look at everybody's titties. And meanwhile, you're just like, so like there have been
so many shows like that too. Master Roshi in Dragon Ball's that way. Jiraiya from Naruto's that way. All of them have that one dude who's really fucking creepy.
Yep.
But you end up loving them anyways, and you have no idea why. You're like, I know that dude's fucking crazy, but he's my bro.
In this case, in the Academia, I just assume they get rid of that. I just assume they fucking murder him, step on his fucking grapes, and get him out of there. Like, but it's interesting. Okay, so to answer Andrew's actual question.
I do have another actual answer to that question. Actually.
Oh, do you? So this sounds good on paper, but then puts you off in
no. Did you ever watch the anime No Game No Life?
No.
It was an anime that was actually introduced to me by Elliot, and Harris would actually told me about it too. It was an anime about these two siblings who are really, really good at video games, and they get sucked into this world where every decision is decided by a game.
Okay.
And so it's like this fantasy world and stuff. The thing is, like, the guy is like kind of a super pervert, but what makes it fucking creepy is that the sibling is a little sister who is what's a good way of putting it? Underage as fuck.
Oh yeah.
And this anime loves doing fan service with that character for some reason.
Yep.
And I was just like, man, I think this anime is really funny and really clever, but you gotta fucking stop sexualizing this 12-year-old. I assume, like, I forgot. I think she actually is that age. But I was just like, guys, fucking stop it.
That's not to mention animes where it's like, oh, I'm 16. It's like, the fuck you are. You're drawn like a 10-year-old. I know the difference between 16 and 10. Anyway,
it's really bad. I think it's funny when it's the opposite, though, because I watched something called, I think it's called Majestic Prince. Mm-hmm. It was like a mobile... Actually, that's another, not to bring up Rape again, there's another anime that did that. It was a mech one. I can't remember the name of it anymore. But it's like a normal, like fairly normal mech anime until the main character randomly rapes somebody.
Jesus.
And even like Hilario was showing it to me. We used to watch it every week as it came out. And then when that happened, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know what? Hey, Andrew, not to just make this into a theme thing, but like Berserk on paper is something I would really like, but no, it just didn't work. Like, it didn't work for me. I know a lot of people who don't like, like John hates Death Note, right?
Yeah.
He's just like, fuck.
Well, Death Note is the main character is just a douchebag.
Yeah.
But like you said, the build up to what happens to him at the very end of it.
Yeah,
really helps that a lot.
Yes,
but you have to get through a lot of dumb shit.
You really
before
do.
You get to that point.
You really do. I could see a lot of places, especially after the big turn in that franchise or in that series, where you could totally lose a person on the back half of that. But if you get all the way to the end, watch
so
the main character
getting
his comeuppance.
That shit's it's the best.
Yeah. See, it's weird because generally the stuff that I watch. Anything that has like really excessive fan service, I already know that I'm not going to like it, right? Like I'm not going to be into it. I'm trying to think of things where it's like, oh, I thought that was going to be really good, and then when I watched it, I was like, oh, it's really bad.
Oh, I actually just talked to somebody about this recently. The Cape. It was this isn't an anime. It was a show that I think came out on NBC, and it was supposed to be the superhero show about a dude who had like a magic fucking cape or some shit.
Okay,
and it sounded great on paper to me. It's like it sounds like a superhero thing. They're gonna go for all the campiness. It was fucking garbage.
Okay.
Heroes, I think, is another one that's kind of like that. But
No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky is a great example of that.
Maybe I've kind of warmed more to No Man's Sky, but on paper it seems hell. Star Citizen might end up being that. Who could see?
Who knows
Who
on
could
that
say?
one?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other, like, I know there's a few other examples, but the thing is, usually I just forget about them.
Yeah.
Because once I'm done with it, I'm just like, yeah, that was pointless. I didn't need to do anything with that.
Oh, what was the one? Jesus.
Actually, Majestic Prince is one of those. The one that I was talking about earlier, because it seemed like it was going to be this mech anime that I just was like, I'm good. There was another mech anime that a friend of mine showed me. I can't remember the name of it, but the way one of the seasons ends, like, it looks like they all died, and I was like, I don't know if I care about this anymore.
Yeah. Also, by the way, I apologize if there's anybody out there who doesn't want to hear us talk about this subject matter. But
we're just talking about a bunch of random shit at this point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff like that, though. There's a lot of animes where I'm like, this sounds like it's right up my alley, and then it just ends up being bad, and I can't really figure out why.
Right there, one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Advent Rising is a video game. This is a game that came out in 2005. It was written by Orson Scott Card before we all found out what a piece of garbage he is. It was supposed to be a franchise where it was about like humans in space that, like, it turns out that humans have the potential to be like the world's the most powerful beings in the universe. So it's like you start the game on foot, blasty blasted, and then as time goes on, you get like psychic powers and stuff like that. And it was okay. And then I think there was a sequel that was on or potential sequel that was going to come out for like the PSP or something. It seemed like a great idea. I remember reading I think it was like a Game Informer like puff piece on it that made it sound like just like the best thing ever. And then when I played it, I was just like, boo, it sucks. Anyway.
It's a shame when that sort of thing happens, though.
Yeah, let's roll through. Ooh, I don't know if we can get to all these now. I asked for more questions and I got too many questions. Let's see. Ron writes in and says, hello, Jeff and Michael. I recently played Doom 2016. It was a lot of fun and very refreshing since I hadn't played a first-person shooter like it in a long time. I've mostly been playing competitive PvP games. The upgrade system was very fun and intuitive, but it kind of felt like some of the upgrades were too overpowered. For example, the first weapon I got the master upgrade on was a super shotgun.
Oh, yes.
Yep, fire twice before reloading. And there wasn't an arena I couldn't clear by switching to the super shotgun and abusing the double tap. It was still crazy fun to use, but it did take a little of the challenge away in the final levels. I also really appreciated the incredibly open-ended ending and was pleased to learn that the sequel, Doom Eternal, has a release date and a year. This year, I believe.
As far as I know, yeah.
My questions are these. What games recently have you played with an in-game item/weapon/upgrade that you felt detracted from the experience of playing the game? And in this era of nothing but sequels, what sequels to beloved games are you actually looking forward to, announced or otherwise? Thanks for all your great work, and it really means a lot. Helps me get through the day. That's from Ron. So, I don't know that I'm going to have a great answer for... Well, okay, I think I'm going to have an opposite answer. I don't mind it when a game gives me something that's really overpowered, as long as it's...
As long as it's fun.
As long as it's fun, yeah. Like, I mean, yes, you could probably find the one OP weapon in Doom and then just abuse it to the end of the game. But, like, why not switch it up and have fun? Like, get out your railgun, fucking get out the chain gun, get out, like, yes, you could, but you could also finish every level in Hitman 2016 with, like, a sniper rifle. Why would you just do that when you could be walking up to people and pushing a piano on their heads or like scaring them to death or whatever else you could do in Hitman. But as far as recent games that had upgrades that you felt detracted from the experience of playing the game, to be honest, it usually for me goes in the opposite direction, where it's like the upgrades are so minuscule that I don't care about them as much.
I've had upgrades actually ruin some.
Yeah.
Like I remember, like, some of them were stuff like, it changes how you pick up things, and so it causes you I don't remember what game it was, but it was a game where you could actually get kind of heavy, and so you could be slow. It's like, oh, it's an upgrade that will bring stuff near you into your inventory. It's like, well, I don't want to do that because there's a lot of shit I don't need now,
right?
And so it would cause that to be a pain, because then it would cause me to stop, drop that shit, and try to run before it fucking landed, so it would fly back at me.
Yeah,
I've had instances of that. Like, I get what he means by the super shotgun, because once I had the master super shotgun, I was like, I can murder everything. But I felt awesome because I could murder everything.
Sure. It's kind of like like pick any of the Saints Row games. Like when you get the dubstep gun in Saints Row. What was it, 3 or 4, whichever one, the first one that came out. Dubstep gun kills everything in Saints Row, but like I've always thought that Saints Row was great because Saints Row realizes that like this game doesn't have to be challenging to be fun.
Yeah,
like you don't have to beat your head up against the level in Saints Row. You just kind of want to see what the fuck they're gonna do next, and then shoot everybody with the dubstep gun until they die from it.
Like the only time I think Saints Row kind of made that a little annoying was in part 4, because it was like, you don't really need the cars anymore at that point.
Yep.
So it's like, what's the point of customizing them and doing all this shit? It's like, I'm just going to fly or run super fast, and destroys the point of that. But a lot of stuff like that, either their upgrades or their items that you find, make the game that much more enjoyable. Like in Metal Gear Solid, when you beat the game both times, and you get both the bandana that gives you infinite fucking ammo, and the one that just you can like punch a dude and then put it on, and he's like, where did he go?
Right.
You just go fucking batshit insane with that stuff. I love shit like that though.
Yep.
As long as it's fun, a fun overpowered thing, I don't really mind that sort of thing.
Me neither. I love it when a game gives you a new game plus, you can bring all your upgrades from the game back into it, and it's just like, haha, suck it, you jerks.
I'm so excited for whenever they do that with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm so goddamn excited.
Well, I guess you could just play the game 3 times to get the last Taskmaster trophies that you need.
Exactly.
So you just do the easy ones.
I only need one fucking thing.
Oh, man.
Off of those Taskmaster challenges. Just one thing.
Son of a bitch.
And I've goldened all of the easy ones, so it's fucking goddamn it.
Let's see. David writes in and says, "Hey guys, I've recently finished Detroit Become Human. It's easily been one of my favorite games in years. Not even in regards to the controls, but the interwoven story that shows direct consequences in the narrative. I feel like games that have your actions be dealt direct consequences in the story is the evolution of storytelling in video games. We have seen pivotal examples such as the Mass Effect series, Elder Scrolls, and Detroit. So my question to you is this: are there any video games upcoming that you feel will be the next iteration of such a story? What could video games do more to implement consequences into narrative? And do you have any examples of games outside of those listed that fulfilled that? I appreciate any feedback you could provide. Thank you, from David.
What was the list of games again?
Mass Effect, Elder Scrolls, and Detroit.
All right, gotcha.
Well, here's one that I can tell you right off the bat, right? Witcher.
Oh, yeah.
Witcher 3.
Absolutely.
Witcher 3 does a really good job of not only having your actions have consequences, but The Witcher 3 is brilliant because it waits for like 4 hours for you to see the consequence of what you did. So there's no way for you to go, unless you want to like go back and replay the last 4 hours and have like a million save scums to be able to do that. Like, you have to live with your consequences, and it's a great way. It also is good because it doesn't give you any, like, here's the good one and here's the bad one. It's more like Detroit, where it's just like, what do you want to do, bro? And you have to sit there, like, when Amanda and I were playing Detroit, we were just like, I don't know. What do you think? If we leave, will it? I don't know.
A lot of games are kind of strange about that sort of thing, because sometimes they seem like they're going to be that way, but then it turns, because like, as much as I love the Mass Effect thing,
yeah,
the original ending of Mass Effect was the biggest FU to that sort of concept,
right?
Because I remember the best joke about it was like, yeah, the ending of Mass Effect is what color punch do you like? Like, that's mostly what it was originally.
But Mass Effect 3?
Yeah, because you remember the original ending was just like,
yeah,
most of them, they were pretty much 90% the same. It was just a different color, really.
Right. No, I remember that. But I have not forgotten about the ending of Mass Effect 3.
I remember I originally got rid of mine after that, and then when they came out with the DLC, I wanted to get it back real quick. But no, future games that could be that, I'm not 100% certain, because not a lot of them seem to be more adventure games at the moment.
I think Red Dead 2 might have something like that.
They have some, because they have some sort of stuff with it. I don't know if it. affects the narrative as a whole.
Yeah.
Because I do know they said that like people react to you differently.
It's funny
based
because
on the stuff you do.
I always bring this up that GTA 4 had a weird choice.
Yeah.
It had one choice for you to make, and then used it to fucking against you like a jerk off. Hey, which character do you like better? Oh, they're the one that died. Whoopsie doodle. How'd that happen?
It made me pretty mad. Although it
was supposed to though, right?
Yeah,
You know, like,
it was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty good about that.
but then they didn't do anything like that in 5. Like 5, the ending of 5 is kind of a whimper. I really think that GTA 5 ends poorly compared to
5's
4.
like you can get one of them killed or something, and you're just like, I don't really. It doesn't really give you a reason to do that, though.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you get Trevor killed. I'm like, well, Trevor's an asshole, but I kind of like Trevor. Like, that sort of thing. You know, like, the thing is, a lot of people say it's like the future of some of these storytellings. They're just choose your own adventures animated, really.
Yeah.
At that point. If you want a game that you have to live with your consequences, play Mario Party with a group of friends and see how long you guys talk to each other afterwards.
Yeah, there's a reason that it's Michael this week on the. No, I'm just kidding. You know, I mean, most of the games like that are you know, like the Telltale games, right?
Yeah, Telltale had a lot of those. Most of them were kind of shitty about that sort of thing. I think the Batman ones, though, were really actually good about that sort of thing.
Mm.
Like, a lot of your actions did have consequences as the game progressed. Like, some of the game is completely different based on it, especially with that Joker one.
Yeah.
Like, that final chunk of it is... I actually did it in both. I actually replayed it to see what the differences were with it.
Mm.
And I was like, yeah, these are completely fucking different story-wise.
You might consider Life is Strange 2. I don't know how much that's going to affect the ending.
Yeah.
Somebody else had a comment that I saw where apparently Assassin's Creed Origin has 9 different endings depending on what you've done throughout the course of the... I mean, I did just get to a big kind of like...
I know some games have similar things. Like BioShock was a game that had... I think 2 different endings.
Yeah.
There's a few games that are like, hey, this is the good and bad ending was a thing for a while, actually. Like Silent Hill has a bunch of different endings. The Silent Hill games. My favorite being the dog endings, because those are fun.
Of course.
Or the alien invasion one. That one was fun, too.
Yeah, go back and play Silent Hill 2. I mean, if you haven't done that, play Silent Hill 2.
There's a lot of games that have... That some of us treat it as a new thing, but some of it's just the upgrade of some stuff that was already a thing on it. Like in my opinion, for some of it at least. Sometimes it's just, hey, you needed to do the chocobo race to get the final ending or some shit that you just didn't fucking do. Like, I don't know. Like, I see what he means, but I don't know what the next iteration of that will be.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's the problem, David, that I think you're going to have as far as this particular question is that it's October, bro.
Yeah,
it's time for Red Dead and Call of Duty and Battlefield and like all the big ones. Like
it's time for that Spider-Man DLC. That's what it is.
I mean, Detroit came out this year. You know, it's Detroit isn't a game that you put up against Black Ops and Red Dead 2. So I don't know that anything else that's big towards the end of this year. You know, I should probably bring up real fast is my I have like a rough outline of what all games we will play from here until the entire end of the year.
Yeah, because the thing is, a lot of the ones that I remember that are being announced are more action-oriented.
Yeah.
Not a lot of them are story-driven. Well, maybe The Last of Us might have something. I don't know.
Last of Us 2?
I'm not really sure, though.
Maybe. I just don't,
I doubt it, though, because the first one is just one normal story. Nothing you do really changes what happens at the end.
Yeah.
So odds are that won't be one.
Nope. Sorry, I'm just going through all this here. You guys play Reigns. Call of Cthulhu, it's possible, might have something like that.
I could see that.
Let's see. Hitman doesn't really do that. I'm just trying to look through. Fallout 76 obviously doesn't have jack shit worth of story.
Yeah.
Outside of tapes. Battlefield's going to be not.
You'll have consequences. Just, did you fuck with Sniper 420 69XX?
Right. Darksiders, probably not. Just Cause, probably not. Yeah, I don't really know.
I don't know. Hitman's the closest thing because if you make a decision, you got to kill a guy a different way.
Yeah, but you can always just, I mean, like, none of it carries between missions.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean, though. Like, it's not really all that much different.
Yeah. All right. And our last question this week comes in from Pat. Pat says, hello, Jeff and Michael. I am boarding my flight to Austin as I type this email. My girlfriend and I are flying in for ACL until Monday night. Since ACL only runs Friday through Sunday, there's a high chance of storms on Sunday through Monday. Can you give us any ideas on fun indoor stuff to do in Austin? Something only a local would know about. Assuming you release the podcast on Sunday, I'll be there in just in time for our wide open Monday afternoon. Best regards, loyal patron, Pat. All right, well, let's run down the normal list, right? Alamo, you been to Alamo?
Yeah,
Go to the Alamo.
The Draft House, not the actual Alamo. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't drive
the
to San
Alamo is
Antonio.
boring as fuck.
Right. It really is. My dad used to like to go there when I was a kid. It was just like, why?
It's so fucking boring.
But yeah, Alamo Draft House, and look online and see if you can find something kooky. Right? They'll
they
have,
might have an event. Who knows?
just like
I don't know if Master Pancake's doing anything that weekend.
Yeah, well, it's this weekend, right?
I think so.
So let's see. Let's say he's going to ACL, probably staying downtown. So the Ritz would probably be the better one to go. Let's see.
If you can take an Uber to any of the others.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them, but
Ritz usually has some weird shit though going on.
the Ritz is really good about having the weird shit.
How do we find our local Ritz? And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, October 15th. First man, Fist City. Come drink with me.
The Room movie party.
Anna the Room movie party. Wow. So
weird shit.
what is
Other stuff? Pinballs is a pretty good one.
Holy shit.
There's
35 millimeter print of Come Drink With Me. It's a kung fu movie.
Oh, so that's the name of the actual movie.
Yeah. It's on a mission to save Golden Swallow is on a mission to save the local governor's son from a group of thugs led by the evil Jade-Faced Tiger. After demolishing some gangsters at an inn, Golden Swallow meets a drunken beggar, and the stage is set for a jaw-dropping adventure where nothing is as it seems, including Golden Swallow herself, with a dazzling performance from Cheng Pei, the Queen of Swords, and the dynamic direction of King Hu. Come Drink With Me set a new standard for women's roles in the martial arts cinema for fans of poetic screen violence who can appreciate the majesty of pulp genre cinema. There's nothing more revelatory than seeing this movie in a theater.
The internet ruined the word swallow. It really did.
Yeah.
But yeah, pinballs. If you get a chance, there's
Absolutely.
the Emerald Tavern. There's also another new bar game place. I think it's called Vigilante Bar.
Oh, it's what, down south?
I think it's down south.
It's where Matt had his birthday.
Trying to think what else is there.
Here's a quick thing. You could do a hell of a lot worse in Austin than looking to do some brewery tours.
Yeah, there's a lot of brewery tours out here.
Hops and Grain is one of my favorite beers. They do the Zoe and Mosaic beers that I really like. They have a brewery that you can do tours at. There's also a lot of really good food in Austin.
Yeah, there's a lot of great places. Yeah, just, find a lot of food ones. If you're in the comics, there's a fuck ton of comic book shops out here too.
Yep.
Like I said, gaming wise, there's also the Game Over video games. If you're looking for like old classic games, you can try going through some of those too.
Yeah. Yep.
Go pawn shopping. Fuck it.
You always ask what to do, and I'm like, I don't know. I live
I kind
here.
of just stay indoors.
Like,
so.
yeah.
A lot of the things I mentioned are stuff people have invited me to.
Right on. Yeah, Pinballs is a good one. Alamo Draft House is a good one. Finding on the brewery tours, that's a good one. Local food joints. The
Especially indoor stuff is a little tougher because a lot of amazing things as well. Like there's trails and stuff. So, but that's like I said, if more indoor wise is a little tougher nowadays.
I'm trying to think of what's down that way.
There's a Thinkery, I think, as well.
I don't know what that is.
It's like just this. Oh, the museums. There's also the museum, the Bob Bullock. If you really want to find out a little more about Texas history, that sort of thing is there.
Actually, the one that I always what is it called? It's the hold on.
Oh, Arcade UFO is another one, but that's might be full of a lot of dirty people.
Let's see. There's a place I always tell people about it. That is, God, what the hell is it called? I always forget about it. The Harry Ransom Center. Okay. Harry Ransom Center is down on UT. It is open Monday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Harry Ransom Center is a kind of a museum that's attached to UT.
Well, that's the LBJ thing, right?
Yeah,
it's awesome. Actually,
it's got some really crazy stuff. They've got a Gutenberg Bible. They've got a lot of times they'll have like.
Oh yeah, I actually did see. Yeah, I actually went there once for when I was going to ACC. They asked I would get extra credit for doing stuff like that.
Yeah,
and yeah, the Harry Ransom Center is fucking awesome. Actually,
yeah, it's a weird thing that I feel like people don't know about. People don't ever talk about.
It doesn't come up that often, and it's completely free.
Yeah.
The same with the LBJ museum that's also near that area. That place is fucking rad too. It's got a bunch of cool shit. They have a revolver that was made for LBJ. That's this like it has a bunch of like American symbols on it.
Okay.
It looks really fucking cool if you ever get a chance to view that. It's
so
really rad.
This is one of the room one is like a callback thing, like Rocky Horror.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's just like there's actually a lot of cool like random little things that you can find. There is actually a good chunk of museums here. Even the Guzu Gallery sometimes has some stuff.
Oh yeah,
that you can view as well.
Yeah, Matt was also at where he did a thing at a place that I've never heard of before.
Yeah, it's some sort of art museum-ish thing or something like that.
Ask Matt.
Yeah, ask Matt about that specifically.
Matt goes out. We just sit here and do podcasts.
I don't even know if that's necessarily true too.
Oh man, Alamo! If you get down to Alamo South Lamar, you can see a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, go to the Highball. Actually, go to South Lamar. Go to the Highball. Get a drink. There might be a show there. Who knows? Actually, there's a few bars too that you could probably just go to and see if there's any shows happening. Downtown has a lot of indoor bars.
Yep.
You could probably find some cool stuff. Isn't there? Yeah. I think there's a thing called Museum of the Weird down there too.
Yes, there is.
If I remember correctly.
I believe
that's another thing indoors that you could definitely do. I think there's a few other things. If I remember correctly, there's a wax museum somewhere, but I don't know if that's still around.
Yeah, I think there's like a toy museum somewhere too.
The Austin Toy Museum. That's another one.
Svanthor or whatever it's called.
Svanthor is something else.
Oh, okay.
Too. But there is a place called the Austin Toy Museum that is something that you can also go and view. And they actually have events sometimes. I don't know if they're going to have one that day or not. Because I know sometimes they're like make your own action figure, or sometimes they have their own movie time or something and stuff like that.
Yeah. So there you go. That's a good chunk of stuff.
Yeah.
You can do any of that stuff. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks everybody for writing in. Michael, where can people find you on the internet if not here?
You can find me on oneofus.net, or you can also find me as Sniper42069. I'm kidding. I'm not that guy.
It was you all along.
I was Bruce Willis the whole time.
Oh, son of a bitch. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you tomorrow with another brand new video. Bye.